Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
And it is a beautiful Tuesday morning in the great city of Cleveland. Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd, Mikey McNuggets with you guys today. Anthony, Earl, and Steve behind the glass. And Ty, you're wearing shorts today. It's about 47 degrees in the studio.
Yeah, but if you step outside, it's going to... First of all,
it's cold?
What's wrong with it? It is cold in here.
Is it?
Yes.
It's freezing.
What's wrong with you?
There. I ain't hardly ever cold.
If you step outside, it's supposed to be in the 80s today.
I heard.
So
I think it already
I'm
is.
dressed. First of all, hold on. Columbus is more southern than Cleveland.
Really?
Yeah, just if you didn't know.
No,
so
I had
it's
no idea.
always hotter in Columbus
That's true.
than Cleveland. So I'm dressed for Columbus weather.
Well, good luck making it through today's show. It is no joke. Are you really not cold?
No.
It is free. Ann, are you cold?
Dude, I put my hoodie on. Like, I keep a hoodie in the office.
Seriously?
It's
because they
freezing.
crank the air.
I mean, right when I first walked in, it was freezing. Now, I think I'm used to it.
The lights are on, which ends up.
You know what I did? I did abs before the show, so
Yeah, we came down. Tyvis was doing an ab roll.
had the ab wheel out.
My abs roll too sometimes.
Trying to catch Jason riding dirty.
Listen, the sun's out. It's about to be pool and beach season.
Yeah, that is.
So I got to make sure I'm able to take my shirt off.
Pool's open next week, right?
Yeah, Memorial Day.
Memorial Day.
Summer's here, boys.
It's about time that we have reached like real summer weather. It's the end of May.
yeah.
And I think yesterday was the first time we had like a real
Yeah, it was.
spring.
Yesterday was too hot.
Listen, this has been a great spring compared. Like we've had great weather. Normally we get a snowstorm in April.
But I'm just saying it hasn't been
That's
like
true.
summer-esque weather.
Yeah, but
It's been-
I just think this spring has been terrific for this part. Like we've had way worse springs than this in terms of cold and rain. Like my yard's in great shape already.
I'm scared because I think it's going to be a very hot summer.
You'd rather be really cold or really hot?
Really hot any day of the week.
Yeah, I take hot over cold
That cold stuff,
in the summer.
it's not for me. It's just not hot. Like that's fine. Like I will never complain about it being too hot because the cold thing I don't really want to deal with that. You don't want to do nothing when it's cold. Like when it's hot, you still want to go, hang out. I played in the weather when played football and all type of stuff in hot. But when it's cold, like I'd rather sit in the house.
I broke my cardinal sin yesterday on a beautiful day. I try to force myself to go
Sat in the
outside and do
house.
something. I was so tired coming back from this trip.
Yeah.
I did nothing until basketball. Drove out to basketball.
Yeah.
35-minute drive. Forgot my shoes at the house.
Did you play on your feet?
No, it got canceled. I didn't see the email either. One remained broke in the gym.
You were struggling.
It was a rough day yesterday. It wasn't just me though. No one else checked it. There was like 7 of us waiting outside for 20 minutes. Like
Who reads emails anymore? You got text.
send a text. That's what I said. Send a text.
Yesterday I did something that I haven't done in a while. I went for a walk around my neighborhood.
How was that?
It was good. I got this big one-on-one showdown with DeVere Posey for cardio softball game.
Oh, okay.
So who the winner gets $1,500 donated to whatever charity they want. So I'm gonna tell them I wanted to go to the Leliana Milani school fund charity.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do. So I've been
Do you know charity that
trying
is,
to
Jason?
lose weight.
His kids.
Oh, jeez.
I'm trying to lose weight, so I'm starting to do walks. First of all, I worked out, cardio, treadmill, 15 minutes, got on the squat rack, got me some squats in.
Are you still squatting heavy?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't go past 315. Because I feel like people that, like the Nick Chubbs and the Derrick Henrys, that's cool and all, but, that's so bad for your knees. So what I do is if I want to squat, heavy, 315 is the absolute max I'll go. I'll just do more reps. So instead of doing Hey, Steve, stop playing with me, man. Stop playing with me. Listen, I'm trying to lose weight here. And you trying to make me look bad. Anyways, I would just do more reps. Instead of 4 sets of 10, I do 4 sets of 15.
The thought of squatting 315 10 times, I'll never sniff it.
Really?
I just take me straight into knee surgery.
Never sniff
What's
it.
wrong with y'all? 315 ain't even heavy.
My back's all, I can't back squat. My back's all screwed up.
Front squat.
That's even harder with 350.
It is.
I was just thinking, unrelated to everything. When we're talking about like who reads email anymore, does anybody leave a voicemail? Do you ever check voicemail?
My mom does.
I never leave a voicemail. I never check voicemail.
Well, first of all, I get a lot of calls from like
You probably get recruits and
ads.
stuff.
No. From like ads. So I never answer my phone. If I don't have your number saved, I'm not answering the phone. The only way I'm going to get back to you is if you better text me who you are or leave me a voicemail. And I'll read that. So that's the only time.
I never check voicemail, ever.
Do you have voicemails on your phone right now?
Yeah, I'm sure it's full. Oh, yeah.
Oh, can we play some live?
I'm sure it's full.
No. I don't know what's in there.
Well, that's the fun. Is
No, not with my job.
voicemail. That's what I'm saying. That could be some juicy tidbits that you're just missing out.
Oh, that's a great game for somebody else. I ain't playing this game. But I mean, I'm sure my mailbox is probably full. I don't ever check those or clear them out or delete
I should
them.
call them and find out. Let's see if I can leave a message.
That would be a great segment, Jason.
Just listen to my random
Your
voicemails.
I have some on here that had not anything like that. There's no scoops. There's no nothing.
I mean, I don't think anyone would leave
Some-
a juicy scoop in my voicemail. Like, that's the whole point of why you don't check voicemail. Like, if somebody doesn't get me, usually they text.
They say, call me back.
Or or you see the missed call and you call them back. You know, who leaves voicemails anymore?
My mom. That's it.
If your mom ever calls me, I will not answer. I will not check the voicemail.
I hope my mom never calls me.
Apparently.
From all I know, yeah.
Well, hopefully, the way you talking, it might be full. They probably can't leave you one anyway.
I hope
That's
so.
true. That's true. We got a giant show coming up for you guys. Guardians picked up a big win. OTAs for the Browns start today. Mary Kay Cabot's going to join us on the show. The Cavs are still waiting to make a decision on the future of their team, top to bottom, essentially. We're going to talk about who has more trade value, Darius Garland or Jarrett Allen. The Eastern and Western Conference finals are set to tip off tonight, and tomorrow we'll break down a little bit of that. But first, what's up, Ant?
What's up, guys? I'm going to remind all of you right now that it's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and a lot more. All you guys have to do is visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
All right, let's start with the Guardians, guys. It was a 3-1 win over the Mets yesterday. That is 4 wins in a row for the Guards. 7 of their last 8 in the win column. Francisco Lindor has returned to Cleveland, went 0 for 4 with a strikeout. But, Jason, the story of this game was Ben Lively. Another stellar performance from the guy the Guardians found off the bargain bin. A 1-year, $750,000 deal to bring him in. Through this season, he has a 2.84 ERA. He's only allowed 12 runs in 38 innings pitched. He has 38 strikeouts. He's only allowed 35 hits and 12 walks. 2.84 ERA. Compare that to his career average, his career numbers, 4.71. He's allowed 129 earned runs over 246 innings. He only has 197 strikeouts in 246 innings. His hits are way up, and his walks are way up. This season's been a complete anomaly for Ben Lively.
Yeah.
But give credit to the Guardians for finding ways to get the most out of these. Bargain bin's not the right word. I mean it in no disrespectful way.
No,
but
it is.
a bargain bin sign that they have turned into a legitimate weapon in this rotation right now. I think Ben Lively might be the biggest surprise in baseball so far, Jason.
He was a top 100 prospect at one point, but that was a long time ago with the Phillies. He's been on 4 teams now, Philly, KC, Cincinnati, and now Cleveland. I don't think I'm missing one. I was just trying to look it up. He's been – and that's a credit to this pitching factory that the Guardians have developed. And they've, what's really impressive about that is they've lost, Ruben Niebla was sort of one of the minds behind their pitching, and he's in San Diego now. And I think it's Matt White, the Yankees pitching coach, came from here, and he got a lot of credit for one of those guys, one of those pitching minds that really developed the factory. But the Guardians know what they're doing, man. They know how to develop pitching. They know how to reclaim pitchers, and he's not getting a lot of attention yet because it's only May, but Lively's turning into one of the best stories in baseball. If he continues this up into June and July, he's one of the best stories in the game this year.
Ben Lively, listen, this whole situation started when Shane Bieber went down, we all went into a panic because we was like, okay, what's going to go on? And Bull always sits over there and says at some point they got to trade for a starting pitcher. And I agree with him. But when you got performances like for the last few games, the pitching has been pretty good from pretty much everybody. And with that being said, it's holding off the fact that maybe Maybe they're not hitting the panic button like everybody else is, you know. And I know we're sitting here like, well, at some point this team needs to have that veteran guy that can come in there that you can be confident in, especially when you go into a playoff series. It's all about pitching. And I don't know how confident anybody is in the starting pitching that we have currently on roster right now. But what I will say is this whole season has been wild to me, where I can't quite put my finger on how they're doing certain things, but certain
it's nonsensical. It really is.
But guys is stepping up.
I know.
And Ben is another story where he's just stepping up and making key starts. I mean, think about it. His first pitch was against Lindor, who all the emotions was there. I'm sure he came out there like, I'm going to show Cleveland what they missing out on, and struck him right out.
He hit him with that changeup.
Yeah, struck him out.
And all his pitches, the crazy part about Lively so far is he's not like a one-pitch wonder where it's, hey, he's got a killer fastball.
No, he got some stuff.
His two-seamer's been good. His changeup's been nasty. And it's not like it's the first time these teams or these players are seeing him. He's not a rookie. He's been around the block a couple of times. He's played for 4 different teams. And all of a sudden, he has little runs on his fastball and a little dip in his changeup that we hadn't seen the last 2-3 years from Ben Lively. And it's a kudos to the Guardians for getting the most out of him. It's a kudos to Ben Lively for continuing to believe in himself that this was still the capable caliber pitcher he was always able of being. And also to Jason and your point, we're 50 games in essentially now.
Yeah.
It's a third of the season. Like at some point, you do have to shift your mindset from, oh, it's a good start, maybe a little fluky, to, I can't explain it, but hell, I'm not going to try to argue it because it continues to happen night after night after night. 3-1 win yesterday. The bullpen completely shuts down the Mets. Outside of the 1 home run he allowed, Lively was unhittable, and offensively, David Fry and Kyle Manzardo provided the spark. It's a bunch of guys who you didn't expect before the year to be these key contributors on a night in, night out basis, but night in and night out, we're seeing different guys step up in the biggest ways.
Jason, I'm about this close to going to purchase me a David Fry jersey. That dude is nice, man. Like he come in and he just hit the clutch stuff. He make the big plays happen. And I don't know why. Is he now in the everyday rotation now, or is he still?
No, not quite every day. He mashes lefties. He
clearly,
and he's flexible. He can play. The fact he can catch is huge. He can play multiple spots. He's turned into a weapon for them, and I can't believe we're saying that. I remember he was in the opening day lineup. I'm like, what is David Fry doing in the opening day lineup?
But he was good then. He was solid there.
He hit well on opening day, and he hasn't stopped hitting since. And Steven Vogt has just done an incredible job of managing the bullpen, of knowing when to play guys, or where to bat them in the lineup. He hit all the right buttons, man. Like, this guy was touted as the Guardians got a home run higher, and you just weren't sure because of his inexperience and the fact that he really hasn't been a coach long at all.
Yeah.
But he's absolutely nailed it 2 months in. It's great to see.
He's hit every button right in the lineup.
Yeah.
His use of the bullpen, which it's still early. It may eventually, they may run out of arms, but outside of that little stretch with Gaddis, I feel like he's utilized the bullpen almost perfectly. Last night, another example where boom, 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 and Clase's been incredible. Almost everyone in the bullpen, outside that one, it was Atlanta, and who else did he struggle against? Gaddis. It was that 3-game stretch.
Oh, yeah.
Atlanta. But outside that little stretch, their bullpen's been incredible too. And they have found different ways. Some nights it's the offense, some nights it's the pitching, some nights it's the starter, some nights it's the bullpen, and you really don't know what you're going to get from this team on a night-in, night-out basis other than the fact they're going to be competitive as hell, and they have a damn good chance to win a ball game.
I love the way Sunday he went after Bybee, that Vogt went out and talked to Bybee on his last batter. He's screwing around with Kirilloff. Kirilloff can't hit the side of a barn right now, and he's screwing around and walks Kirilloff on 4 pitches. And Vogt went out to the mound and just sort of like told him, go get him. Like, right now, strike this guy out. This is your last batter. Go after him. And Bybee had a little bit something left, put a little bit extra juice on it. He got the strikeout, and you saw the reaction of Tanner coming off the mound. That was a great moment, I thought, for manager to go out there. Normally, anytime the manager goes out there, he's going out there to take the pitcher out, and that's it. But that time he had a message to send of stop screwing around and go get this guy. And Tanner did that. And it's just another sign of, like, he's ready, of Steven Vogt being ready for the moment.
I think that it's, as much as we love Tito and everything that he did, I think that maybe this locker room just needed a new voice.
Sometimes
in
it
there.
happens, yeah.
Yeah, like
Absolutely.
And not saying that they don't respond to Tito or they don't respect Tito. That's not the case at all. I think everybody loves Tito, but clearly it was just it kind of ran its course. Like they just needed something new in there, a new young guy that can bring some energy, and we seeing the results from it every game.
And we've talked about that. I felt it. I really felt it at the winter meetings in Nashville, where everyone wanted to be respectful of Tito and the job that he did here, and obviously just the respect that the entire organization had for him. So they're trying to dance around and say it was time, while not crapping on Tito, for lack of a better phrase. They wanted to show him reverence while also saying we had reached the point where it was time for exactly what you just said. It was time for a fresh voice. It was time for fresh eyes. It was time for new blood to come in here because things had very much gotten stale.
We kind of figured that last year at the trade deadline, but it was a point of the season where they had a shot to like still make a run to try to make the playoffs. It was like late. I can't remember exactly when, but they like completely just gave up. And it was just like every time you watched them, you could tell it was just like, eh.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if that's the case, then it is over.
It's not just baseball. That proverbial your manager or your coach's message just runs hollow at some point. It happens in all sports. Pete Carroll, I mentioned him as a couple examples. Like, great coach. You played for Pete.
Pete is a great coach.
He'd been in Seattle for over a decade. At some point, sometimes you just need a new voice to reinvigorate the troops.
Yep.
And it feels like whatever difference between Tito and Steven Vogt that the Guardians are experiencing firsthand, it has re-energized the entire clubhouse, the offense, the pitching, and everyone's lived. It's crazy they're winning without everyone hitting and pitching to the level that we expect and they're capable of.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're still winning, I think, proves Steven Vogt and the change was necessary's message even more, because it's not just the players having these incredible seasons. It's all the little things coming together that make a ball club good that we're seeing provide and lead to wins for Cleveland.
When the last time we had like this good of a start? Because right now they're second in the AL.
Most of Tito teams got out. Not all of them. I think there was a couple years where they got off to good starts in April and start of May. But usually his teams started slowly and then got hot when you want to get hot. And that's the question with this team, is can they sustain? Like, they've been great through April and May. Where are they going to be in July and August? Because the one thing about Terry's teams is even when they started slowly, they were building and building and building and building to where they were playing their best ball in the second half of the season, which obviously is what you want.
Well, hopefully, due to the fact that this change just happened, those players are kind of conditioned a little bit to
keep peaking.
To peak and keep going up as the season goes. That hopefully that happens for this season, because I don't want it to be one of those seasons like the Cavs last year. They win 50 games, everybody's happy, and then boom, we out the first round. Like, that sucks.
But it's also expectations. Like the Cavs, and we'll get back to the Guardians real quick, but Cavs' expectation was to win a playoff series, hopefully go deep, make a playoff run. The Guardians' expectation this year, their over-under in Vegas on the win total was right around 500.
Yeah, it was.
So even if they get off to a hot start and then don't have necessarily the playoff success and peak in August like we saw with the Tito teams, I think it's just your expectation going into the season will determine how you feel about them kind of regressing to maybe the mean, and/or them staying as a, team that's on pace for 100 wins right now.
I just want you.
They're on pace for 100 wins right now, and they're top 10 in home runs, which I knew you were going to say.
Come on now.
I got to give it to you.
So far, he's been right. And it's been other guys contributing. A name we haven't mentioned in a while is Steven Kwan, because he's been injured with the hamstring injury. Yesterday, at his media availability, Steven Vogt said he'll be able to begin his rehab assignment in 7 to 10 days. He took batting practice yesterday for the first time since injuring his hamstring. Jason, do you have any idea when we may be able to see Steven Kwan back in the lineup for the Guardians? I know it's a hamstring, it's finicky, but...
Yeah, they're finicky. I'd say 2 weeks. If he's going to start a rehab assignment in 7 to 10 days, he's not going to need long down there. Like, this guy's a professional hitter. 2-3 games for hitters, that's all you need. Pitching is far different. You got to get stretched out. It's a couple of starts coming back from injury. Hitters, 2 or 3 days, and if he starts it, let's say 8-9 days, 2 or 3 days on a rehab assignment, He'll be back
travel
in 2
day,
weeks.
so 2 weeks.
What was his exact injury? Strained hamstring, pulled hamstring?
Acute hamstring strain, I think it was.
Okay, because I strained my hamstring my last preseason game when I was with the Cowboys. First of all, that was the first time I ever did it. It hurt like heck.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh.
And there's no recovery besides rest.
Yeah, and
that's
so it took me, but I was young, which he's young. It took me, I'd say 3.5 weeks to get back to like fine, where it was no pain. I could run and be back to myself. So how long has he been out? It's been about 3 weeks, right? 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah, the initial timeline was about 4 weeks, I think, and there. I think this is tracking right along that.
Ant was at the game. Ant, was it May 4th? Is that the game you went when he injured it? Because wasn't it the Steven Kwan bobblehead night?
Yeah, it was when they had his bobblehead. He ran from about middle of left field all the way over to the stands and caught a pop fly. Yeah, and he walked away fine. I didn't even notice him go off. I don't think he went off. I think when they switched, he just never came back.
Well,
So that was 17 days ago.
well, when you pull it initially, like, your adrenaline is running. Like, for me, when I pulled mine, like, I felt it because I was on kickoff. I felt it, but I'm like, maybe that ain't, maybe it's just a little, So I went back out there and I played another series of defense, but it was clear, like, I can't really run like I used to. So that's what that sounded like right there, is that the adrenaline was rushing. Yeah, he ran off the field and he looked fine. But when it hit, once you sit down, it's over.
It tightens up.
Yeah. It's over.
It's like if you tweak your ankle playing basketball.
You better keep going.
Lace the shoe up as tight as
Tighten it
possible.
up.
Don't take that
As soon
shoe
as
off.
you take it off, it's going to balloon up. So he hurt on May 4th. So it was 17 days ago. That's
So
2.5 weeks. So that
I
timeline
put about
is
4 weeks.
That
yeah.
timeline's right in line with what you said and Jason's prediction. Do you think timing-wise, he's obviously an incredible hitter. It's actually funny. We update the season hit totals for the Guardians every day. Monday was the first time Jimenez or anyone had passed Kwan
passed him.
at the top, and he hasn't played in
2 weeks.
2 weeks, exactly. He was at 47 hits. Jimenez and Ramirez now has both passed him, but he was number one by a long shot.
And
for
the
a
funny
couple
thing
weeks.
is, as soon as he come back,
He's going right back
He
up.
gonna
Yeah.
catch him right back.
Do you think his timing though, Jason? He was off to an incredible start, 47 hits in 32 games. 2-3 games in AAA, enough to get your timing back for a hitter of that caliber?
Yeah, because this is what this guy does. Like, this isn't. Some guys, if they're playing above their skis a little bit, you worry about regression and can they get hot again. Not with him, because he's just a natural, being able
stays hot.
to put the barrel on the ball. So I don't think he's going to hit 350 all year. I don't see any reason he's not going to hit 320, 330 this year. So, and the fact that he's getting to more power was a big point of emphasis over the winter for him. And I think we talked about it before, where he was actually practicing swinging and missing just to get used to that feeling, because that's something he never does. But they're willing to trade 15, 20 points in batting average if it means an extra 5 or 6 or 7 home runs. That's a good trade, considering how well he can hit. But am I worried about him going into a prolonged slump when he comes back? No. I mean, every hitter slumps at some point. But this isn't
Nothing
a guy
too serious.
this isn't a guy I don't fear going 0 for 21 or 0 for 22.
Speaking of slumps and maybe breaking out of them, Kyle Manzardo had 106 exit velo on his RBI double yesterday, Jason. From my opinion, I'm curious what you guys see.
It's a beautiful shot.
He's starting to look a little more comfortable back there. Not pressing may not be the right word, because even his first hit, and we talked about it when it happened, he waited till the last second to get his hands around, and it was ended to be a single to left field. But that was his hardest hit and arguably his best swing as a pro last night. And I'm hoping that's going to build a little confidence as he gets more comfortable in the box, seeing Major League pitching. That the Kyle Manzardo numbers we saw in AAA start to become a little more of the Kyle Manzardo numbers we see here in the majors. And that was an absolute piss missile to left center. I mean, he absolutely hit that right off the barrel. It's 106.1 exit velo according to StatCast. It's hard to put a better swing on a baseball than that right there.
You didn't see your little Mario.
Yeah, you weren't on camera, but Travis just replicated
That's what he did. That's
the Manzardo celebration.
Yeah, it's the team celebration. He's settling in. He's getting more comfortable in the box. Clearly, he's getting more comfortable in the majors, and hopefully that continues, because the fear, obviously, is that he has to go back down, and you don't want that. You want, once the guy comes up here, you want him to stick. And we're starting to see what they see, why they traded for him, why they're willing to give up Aaron Savali, their best pitcher at the time last year, to get him. His swing is so natural. And you know what? Now I see it. I've said a couple times, Chris Valleca said in spring training, the Guardians hitting coach compared him to Wade Boggs. And now when you see his stance and you see his swing with that mustache, I totally get what Valleca's talking about, because he looks exactly like Wade Boggs in the box.
You know, I want you to know something. Can I see that video just one more time?
The swing?
No, yeah, let me see the hit one more
Before
time.
you play it, let me guess. This is Tyvis going to say, this is exactly how when Jay Crawford pitches to me, I'm going to take him to the left side.
See, you think you know me and you don't. That's not what I was going to
okay.
say.
I'm
Let
gonna
me
see
see
this
it
video.
and I'll tell you. I'll tell you. So you see this hit, right? I want you to look at that center fielder. See that? He mistimed it. He was too far ahead. It looked like me last year in Cardell softball game. It happens where you can't really tell the projection or the trajectory of the ball.
He's not catching that under any circumstance.
Yes, he is.
No,
'Cause
that's
he
not.
was too far ahead.
That hit off the wall, Tyvis.
No, it did not hit off the wall.
Play it
hit
again.
before
No, it
the
didn't.
wall.
Mike, I don't think it hit off the wall.
Did it bounce
Thank
before
you.
the wall?
The announcers were saying he just let it go over his head.
See?
He lost it.
See?
There's no way he's catching that ball.
It bounced up for the ball. He's not catching that ball.
Y'all need to cut it out. Listen, I can play y'all in the majors because they let stuff like that happen. So if that happens to a professional,
Tyvis, you
why
dropped a
can't I not?
softball that was 3 feet out of the infield.
Well,
It's a big difference than trying to catch a 106-mile-an-hour rocket off Kyle Manzardo's
So let me ask
bat.
you this. Would you say that was it impressive, the amount of ground I covered to even have a chance
The
at that
fence
ball?
was 200 feet, Tyvis.
Stop doing
I don't know
that.
about Tyvis,
This,
but
like,
Tyler
this is
Freeman would've caught
sad.
that.
Nobody want to give nobody. Look, when people do things right, I give credit all the time.
You dropped the
And then,
ball.
but
What'd you
for
do right?
some odd reason, when it's me, nobody want to say Tyvis did great. Like, I didn't cover a lot of ground. I took off like a bat out of AG double hockey sticks to get there. And it was impressive for a guy who, like me, who hasn't really sprinted on a while. Like,
You were moving.
thank you.
You moved too far. Too fast.
Clearly, it's the stopping part. When you get older, ladies and gentlemen, it's not the start, it's the stopping. The brakes is not like they used to be.
Speaking of breaks, let's take a break. Give us a read.
Yeah, guys, I want to remind everybody that Game Time is the best place to go for your tickets. With the Guardians at home with the Mets, you can save up to 60% off by buying last-minute tickets. You can do it for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, everything. The cheapest prices right now are out in the bleachers. It's row 182, row H, sorry, and then it's $19 a piece to go see the Guardians tonight play the Mets. You can save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats for you, and you can get a panoramic view of your seats. So all you got to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, you just have to create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
We just spent a few minutes talking about Kyle Manzardo and him looking more comfortable in the box for the Guardians, but the Cleveland baseball organization just called up Johnathan Rodriguez, Jason, their number 16 prospect who has 7 homers, 28 RBIs in AAA this year. They have DFA'd Ramon Laureano, who is hitting just a $143 on the year. He had 10 hits and 70 at-bats. Just not good enough. And now between Laureano, Straw, and Gene Segura, they have 18.7% of their payroll not on the team anymore and/or DFA'd. And that is close to about $15 million. I forget the exact number. I wrote it down. If you give me 1 second to pull up my notes, I can tell you.
Yeah.
$18.5 million, which is 18.7% of their payroll.
Yeah, that's not great. The Laureano thing was overdue. I thought they should have, before Kwan went down, I thought that was an easy way to get Manzardo on the roster just because no one's claiming him on waivers and picking up that. What's Laureano making this year? $6 million, 5, 7, somewhere in there. Nobody's claiming that.
It's less than 8.
So he'll clear waivers. If he'll accept the option, they'll option him to AAA, and he'll be available, and they can call him back up if they really need him.
What if he didn't accept the option?
I think he could elect free agency at that point.
So will he get his money still?
Yeah, it's a guaranteed contract.
Must be nice, right?
Don't even let me go down that road.
But he'll probably accept the option at that point.
If he clears waivers at that point, he has
Nobody-
to imagine no one's going to sign him as a
Well,
outright free
you
agent.
get
Even though you
signed
can sign
as
him for cheaper.
Right. But he'll go to.
So he double fisted?
Well, no, it would just come off what they already ordered.
Ah, never mind. Yeah, accept the option.
But he'll probably go to Columbus, and
Hey, my neck of the woods.
and he'll be available to if they need him in a pinch. But, get a look at some fresh blood instead.
This guy, Johnathan Rodriguez, I was trying to do some research on him. I'll be honest, Tyvis, you may know him better than us as the resident Columbus guy here who talks Clippers on the radio more than we do. But his power numbers, his OPS, are pretty impressive. His average exit velo is 94+, which is in the high side of things. And frankly, anyone's an upgrade over Ramon Laureano.
Yeah.
I was looking and trying to find context to put, and not to, bury a dead body, but Laureano had not been good this year. His OPS, Jason, ESPN tracks OPS for every player in baseball. Mm-hmm. To be on their qualified leaderboard, you have to average at least 3.1 plate appearances per game, which Laureano does not. However, if he did qualify, he would rank 162 of 162 on the list. So you literally could not get worse than what you were getting in Ramon Laureano this season. So anything from Johnathan Rodriguez, even just the attempt to see what he can bring to a major league lineup, in my opinion, is an upgrade over what this guy was bringing to the table.
Yeah, take a look at him. I mean, they have better outfield prospects coming, hopefully, should be. But in the interim, take a look at him, see if he can help you at all. I don't know that he's going to play every day, especially when Kwan's back. I don't think he's going to play every day. But it's worth taking a look now. To me, it was more of just getting Laureano off the roster, and then you can decide who you want to fill that spot. If Rodriguez struggles or whatever, then you can make changes as necessary.
He's technically a power bat.
Yeah.
So we keep talking, and Tyvis, you made the bold prediction before the season they'd be top 15 in the league. They are top 10 at the moment, and they're bringing up a guy who is one of their better power-hitting players in the minors. So if he can translate that from Columbus to Cleveland, it only helps your case.
I mean, well, it's obvious that the Guardians front office listens to Tyvis, and they understand that Tyvis went out there and went on a limb. He put his name on it, that the Guardians would hit top 15 in home runs this year. He said, you know what? We got somebody that believes in what we're doing around here, so we're going to make this guy look like a genius. Sorry, Jason, and sorry, boy. Y'all need to be more positive like me and just know that the home run thing, it's like turnovers in football. Sometimes it just falls your way, and the next year it don't.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about home runs. 1 year you just going to be down in the slumps, but the next year the bat going to get hot.
It's funny because listen,
I don't think that's quite the same correlation.
It's true.
But
that's just what it is.
Power numbers do fluctuate year to year with some guys.
Some guys. I appreciate Tyvis because he brings insight that you can't find anywhere else in sports media. He was the only one saying the Guardians had hit more home runs.
Yeah.
They were going to be good this year. No one else ever said the Guardians needed to hit more home runs if they were going to be competitive in 2024. So Tyvis,
I appreciate that.
Our former NFL player with the hard-hitting, breaking MLB news you can't find anywhere else. Do you expect Rodriguez to play tonight, Jason? How quickly do you think he'll actually make his true debut?
I think they'll probably throw him in pretty quick. At least take a look at him. No sense in bringing him up, put him on the bench.
Where does he bat in the lineup?
Toward the bottom.
Yeah.
After Manzardo?
6th or lower. Yeah, I would think so.
And he's at 7, so he'd be 8th or 9th?
Well, they could bump Manzardo up a little bit, too.
When do you think we'll see Manzardo at first?
It needs to happen. I think they're trying to show deference to Josh, and Josh doesn't really like the DH, but I think you at least need to give Kyle a couple days out there just to let him feel a little bit more acclimated and get him back into his routine, because this is a guy who's played every day in the field his whole career. And then to just throw him in a DH role this young is a little bit tough. I'd like to see him out there a little bit.
Did you see Josh last night in the 9th?
No.
You know what I'm talking about? You know how he tossed it to Clase on Sunday?
Oh, he ran it. He took it and ran it.
He sprinted to first base in the 9th.
I did
see not that. Toss. I was worried he could pull a hammy. Because Josh, the bigger guy, he's mobile, but he ain't that mobile.
Yeah.
And he hit his high horse, and that was a bang play at first. He got him out.
He still got it.
Yeah, he definitely still had it, but he looked at Clase, took one look.
Cost me.
Here it is.
Yeah, that's
dangerous.
That could be a nasty collision. That could be a nasty collision.
And let this play one more time. If he's one step slower, that's knee to knee with the runner.
Yeah,
and that's
an IL stint.
Yeah, and you can see him laughing afterwards.
Yeah.
And Clase obviously.
Yeah, they cost me a win Sunday. Cost Bybee a win. Cost my fantasy team a win.
And here's the side by side. That's close.
Yeah.
Like, that's a little too, in my person, that's a little too close for comfort, considering how important Josh Naylor is to the overall construction of this Guardians lineup. He's been one of their best, if not their best, their second best hitter all season long. And if he had to hit the IL, that would not be good, for lack of a better way. That's very basic, but
No, but glad to see him. He's hitting well. Wanting to see Manzardo get going a little bit, and I'd like to see him in the field a little bit more. There's ways to get him in. Hopefully without the outfield.
Yeah.
That's a terrible idea.
Which is even crazier. They're top 10 in home runs because the outfield power numbers are still they're significantly better than last season. They are still nowhere.
Manzardo about to pick it up on the out. Tyler Freeman going yard today. I'm calling it.
Bet it. Ant, you got a clip you want to play us real quick to wrap up our Guardians talk today?
Yeah, guys, I don't know if anybody out there saw this, but Jose Ramirez wants a World Series ring so badly that he offered to buy Austin Hedges World Series ring on Chris Rose's podcast. So I'm gonna play this clip for you guys real quick.
Can't hear you right now, Rosie. It's just so much bling in my ear right now.
Oh my gosh, you're so funny. Yes.
You want to see the best part?
Please. Wow.
I'll just be wearing this like this for this whole episode, okay?
What did your parents say to you after you hugged them?
They're just so proud. They're so proud. They're so grateful. They got to be there. I mean, my dad was like, I'm wearing a Rangers jersey today, okay? I'm like, all right, you can wear a Rangers jersey today, but then tomorrow you got to wear a Guards jersey, okay?
Was there one or two guys who really kind of looked at it and was like, oh my God, this is amazing?
Jose Ramirez was all about it. He loved it. He was like, can I buy that off you? Can I have it? He saw number 11. He's like, we can just switch Hedges to Ramirez, and like, he's like, he can be my ring now. And I was like, buddy, like, I'm sure you'd make a pretty generous offer, but I don't think money can buy this thing right here. I can't hear you right now.
So, Thomas, do you think he said it in English or Spanish?
I was just going to listen. Y'all are funny because I'm sitting there like, wait a minute. He speaks English for real.
You think he said that through a translator? You think they called a translator?
No, that is amazing to me. That's exactly what I took away. Like, this man really got everybody food, and he speaks perfectly good English.
His English is just fine.
Oh my God! I gotta find a way to get down to the field to meet this man. I just want to see. Like, I just want to say hello.
He'll say, no hablo inglés. He don't know who you are.
He don't know you. This is like when the curtain was pulled back in The Wizard of Oz.
Time it's like, I gotta check. Hello.
I told you what happened when he came to the gym last year, right? I told you that story.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, he was talking to this guy in English, and someone asked for a picture. He goes, no hablo inglés. So the guy walked away. He's like, let's get back to the set. Okay, and just straight, it's a little broken, but he's perfectly fluent.
I was saying, listen, he's a legend.
Just fine.
He's a legend in my books for pulling that. But no, you can't. I wouldn't buy nobody's ring because it's not the same. Just first of all, it ain't yours.
Right.
Even though that ring is sweet, I love when they can.
The ring is dope. It's a great ring.
Yeah, that's cool. But no, I think he got to find a way to get his own. It's better when you get your own, especially after you win a championship. You think about the people that you did it with and how y'all bonded for life. And like that, no matter what, for the rest of y'all life, y'all always bonded together. But you also reflect on just your entire experience of playing this sport. Like, I went through this, and this. And if I could go back in the time, I would do this again just to feel this feeling again. So Jose got to find a way to get his own in Cleveland. That's just got to be what it is.
Do you think it's possible for Jose to win one here in Cleveland?
Yeah, I think, me and Bull always argue about this, and I think he might be right. Baseball is the only sport that when playoffs come around, anybody could win it. Like, it's not like, how in basketball, it's like, all right, the Celtics is at the top. The Celtics is guaranteed to make it. Or in football, Kansas City Chiefs is guaranteed to make it. Baseball is one of those things that if the pitcher ain't pitching or the bats ain't hitting, you're not going to win in the playoffs. And anybody can get hot at the right time, and you can cause major upsets. So I think he's got as good a chance as anybody else that makes the playoffs every year. And I think the way that if they continue to keep going the way that they're going, yeah. And they need to get another pitcher in there. But if they do, I don't see why they couldn't win a ring.
I mean, it's been 76 years.
Stop it.
That's fact. It's been 76 years.
Here we go. So LeBron, did it stop LeBron?
I have 2 points here. One is it's been 76 years, and two is it's got to happen sooner or later, right? But in all seriousness, it is kind of interesting for me to hear how that Jose wants a World Series ring so badly that he would buy it off him, because he had opportunity to leave and go elsewhere. And I mean, he would have been traded, but when his contract came up, he could have left and gone to a team like the Dodgers or the Yankees or something like that. If that was
the
what
Blue
was
Jays.
most important to him. So he took far less money to stay here because he's comfortable here and he can speak English and be left alone and have everyone think. But I'm serious. Like, he's sort of insulated here in Cleveland where the media leaves him alone and he just does his own thing and he's perfectly content to be that way. I've left, gone to another market, maybe given himself a better chance to win a championship. So those two things are sort of in conflict with each other in my mind of I want to take less and stay here because I'm comfortable here, knowing that the Guardians aren't going to, he left 30 or 40 million on the table. They're not going to reinvest that money elsewhere and bring in another star. Like, it is what it is. So if he desperately wanted a ring that bad, I'm kind of surprised he took the money here and didn't even go elsewhere.
Do you think him taking less money here, he did that with the hope that the Dolans in the front office and whatever they're allowed to spend, it's not an Antonetti or Chernoff thing, just they would have used that to try and bring in some reinforcements?
No, I think he was...
Or he was well aware that this is all we can offer and all we can afford.
Yeah, this isn't a situation where Tom Brady takes less so the Patriots can spend more on the cap elsewhere. This is a situation where a guy took less because that was as good as it was going to get to stay in Cleveland. And they are not going to take that other 30 or 40 million that he left lying around and spend it elsewhere. Like, it is what it is. And they have to win by developing young talent and getting the most out of it on those rookie scale contracts before guys hit free agency, because we've seen it before. We'll see it again. As guys get closer toward the end of arbitration and real money, they're going to ship them out and they're going to bring in a new batch of young guys.
To Tyvis's point earlier about baseball being the one sport where it's a little different, any team on any given year can make a run. Mm-hmm. Baseball, more than anything else, about getting hot at the right time. Last year's postseason is the perfect example. Arizona and Texas, two teams that were in the play-in games to start, both made it to the World Series. You look at the roster that Arizona had. I mean, top to bottom, it's pretty similar to the Guardians roster. Like, you look lineup position by position by position. It's probably a toss-up over which lineup's really better. They have Corbin Carroll, who is, he's Steven Kwan with a little more power, but similar type, really good hitters, really good fielders. The middle of their lineup, like Christian Walker and was it Gurriel? Was that the other guy they had in the middle of the lineup last year? I'm drawing a blank on his name. I mean, that's Naylor and Jose equivalent, but I'd probably take Jose and Naylor. Like, it's not like they had some stacked. Like, they beat the Dodgers in the playoffs. The Rangers beat all these teams that had these exuberant payrolls. So if there is a sport where you can win on the margins at the highest of levels, it is baseball. The Guardians were there in 2016. I don't think it's impossible for them to get back.
No, I mean, Game 7 in 2016, you can't get any closer than that.
No.
And obviously, that would have been unbelievable to celebrate 2 championships.
Man.
To go 50-plus years without any, and then to get 2 within a few months would have been wild. But, they're right there. And just a chip in a chair. If you get in, especially with the way this team can pitch and with the bullpen and everything else we were talking about earlier, if they get in, they got a chance.
Tyvis, any last thoughts on the Guardians before we move over to the Browns?
My last thoughts on the Guardians is that I love what I'm seeing right now. As long as they keep going, they're definitely going to be in the running for a World Series. And I think that if they continue to keep progressing like this, you can't take them lightly no more. Like I say, it's been one of those things. It's been nice to say, it's a great start, but at some point it's going to catch up to them. If the Cleveland Browns showed you anything with us transitioning to the Cleveland Browns next, it don't matter what used to happen or what people expect to see. You go out there, you overcome the odds, and that seems to be the mantra in all Cleveland sports. I mean, the Cavs had some injuries, and boom, they still kept it going. Browns had the injuries, they kept it going, and they just win in ways that you just can't believe. I think right now, that's just what the Cleveland scenery is. You find a way to get it done, and that's what this Guardians team is doing.
We got Cookie Carrasco on the mound for the Guardians. Steve, can you both a pitching matchup one more time? Jason, I'm not familiar with Adrian Hauser, the Mets starter today, but when you see these numbers, 17 strikeouts to 23 walks on the season.
That's not great. Yeah, that's not great.
The Guardians, if you like runs, this is a game
Go
that
down
you
to the
may
park today.
very much enjoy.
Especially if the
Carrasco
wind's blowing out.
has been hit or miss. He's had a couple of great starts. He's been hit around a few times. But a 1.46 whip versus a 1.84 whip, you're going to see a lot of action in the field. Hauser, I'm unfamiliar with your game, but it may look that's probably better for my mental health than having to watch 17 strikeouts and 23 walks. But
And Cookie, of course, going against his former team. Came from the Mets.
yeah, that's a good point. So, was it 6-10 pitch tonight?
Yes.
Yeah.
6-10 pitch. Guardians have a 1-0 series lead. Final game's tomorrow afternoon, so make sure you guys head out to the ballpark. Support the Guards. By the way, back-to-back sellouts. Or maybe not back-to-back. Their first sellout in May since 2011. Over 90,000 fans over the weekend. City started to
Fireworks,
buy
dollar
in.
dogs, the Twins, and playing well.
They got dollar dogs.
It's a good
It was.
combination.
It's a great combination, yeah.
They had dollar dog night.
Friday night, right? I think Friday
No,
night.
I think Saturday, because Friday night's fireworks.
Saturday was dollar dog.
Yeah.
I think they had all that in one night, though. They had dollar dogs, fireworks, and the Twins, I think, one of those nights.
Maybe it was. All I know is you add that all together, and they had cheap beer one day, too. Which,
Yeah.
And Columbus is dime a dog night.
Dime?
Dime a dog night.
10 dogs for
The $1.
$1?
Dime a dog night. It's on a Monday. So
I know how cheap hot dogs are, but even that feels like you're burning money.
give them a 20. I want everybody in this section to get one. Give them a 20.
All right, give us a read. Let's talk a little Browns.
Yeah, that hot dog just threw me through a loop there. But, guys, if you want to get more Guardians coverage outside of the normal UCSS hours, I encourage you to check out the Ultimate Guardians every single Monday with Adam the Bull and Zach Mizell. This week's episode, they covered the Twins sweep from the weekend. Starters are turning around, and their reaction to Lindor coming home.
What's Earl chuckling about back there?
That he
I don't
said
know,
Zach
actually. He just started
Mizell
laughing
and
mid-read,
not
and
Zach
I ignored
Meisel.
him.
It's Meisel.
Yeah, it's
For
Meisel.
you two, it's Meisel, not
Yo.
Mizell. It's Meisel.
I just call him
Zach.
Zach.
This is what you get for not giving me a good headshot.
Every time I see Ultimate Guardian show, great show, by the way, I just comment I'm here for Zach and not Bull, and then Bull gets pissed off. So
You be doing that?
every time.
I was also just told that there will be an Ultimate Guardians next Monday on Memorial Day. So
will
make
be,
sure you
okay.
tune in Monday because we will not have a show.
We don't have a show next Monday? Is that confirmed? All right, well, speaking of confirmed things, the Browns open up OTAs today, Tyvis. Your favorite time of the year. That's how important are OTAs, especially the first couple, to get all the things that you prepared for in the offseason in the building under one roof.
Dude, OTAs is important to certain people. It depends on your situation. You know, obviously from an undrafted situation, it's everything because it's your first time being in the NFL as a rookie. You're trying to see where you measure up and stuff like that. And either for all rookies, that's the same thing. You want to see where you measure up. But if you're a veteran like the Cleveland Browns, for the offense, it's very important. You got a new play caller that's coming in there. You got a new run game coordinator. I mean, I would imagine so. He ain't here to just sit there. He's got some type of input.
Okay.
He ain't breaking no news. He got some type of input in there. Listen, it ain't going to get announced that Ken Dorsey is calling plays officially until Kevin Stefanski signs the contract, and I agree with him on that. But either way, it doesn't matter. Offensively, it's big because, like I said, you got Jerry Jeudy coming in there. You got a new offensive coordinator coming in there. You got a new run game coordinator coming in there. So you got to figure out how these guys take coaching. Do you like his phrase, his verbiage, his wordage on how they use things? You know, that might change. But defensively, those guys are coming back to just build on where they're at. It's year two. You know, how is year two different than year one for the defense? Well, now they're not talking about the basics, the fundamentals. They're thinking about the next level stuff. Like, now I can look at formations. Now I can look at who's out there, and I can talk about their tendencies. Like, I don't have to worry about what's the call. Okay, on this call, I have this. Like, that's not where you at now. It's what's the call? Okay, I know that everybody around me has this. Okay, now I know that. Boom, let me look at the offense. Okay, they're in this set. In this set, typically they run this, so I can anticipate that my guy's going to do that. That's where this defense should be at, which is going to help them make a bunch of plays. Because when you're out there, you don't have to think about your job anymore. You actually got it down packed. It now allows you to think about other things to make you better. So I think that's where this defense is going to be at. From a special team standpoint, everybody is brand new out there on kickoff, so everybody's trying to figure out how they can be successful in that, and that's what's the big challenge is, whoever can figure that part out.
Is 1 year enough to learn a system?
Yeah.
So by year 2, everything is second nature.
Yeah, because it's in year 1. It's very depending on who you are. It depends on what the system is. I think Jim Schwartz's system is pretty. When I watch it, it seems pretty easy. You can tell it's easy because year 1 he came in and he had that much of an impact to where guys were just going. Like they didn't think about nothing, they just boom. So that tells me that everything is simple. If it was complex, you see guys in there like, wait, what do I got? What you got? Hold on, what you got on this? Okay, if you got that, then I got this. You didn't see a lot of that. With Joe Woods, it was a bunch of,
he said, she said, who knows what.
Like, okay, they came out in this. You see this, but I see this, but we not talking. So, boom, now it's a coverage bust. There was no coverage bust last year. So that tells me that everything is very simple in his defense. So with that being said, now, like I said, they can take the next step. And when we had D'Anthony Bell sitting here, he even said that, he was like, we didn't even finish putting in everything. Like, he said, what y'all seen last year was just basic. We still got more stuff to put in to be even better. So he's expecting a big year from year 1 to year 2, and I do too.
Well, let me ask you this then. And the answer is probably offense, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If there's more stuff to put it on the defense, knowing where they started at last year to where they hope to even be better this season. On the offensive side, with Dorsey, with all the new pieces, Jerry Jeudy, Nick Chubb's uncertainty, Deshaun Watson's health, with all that, do you expect the defense to maybe make a bigger jump than the offense this year, or do you still expect the offense to make a bigger jump from 2023 to 2024?
Well, it's hard to make an even bigger jump from being the number 1 defense in the NFL. Like that's if you're going off.
But
take
the stats out. I'm just saying the evolution of the system, where one is most likely completely new because of the collaboration they have with offensive minds between Stefanski, Dorsey, Reese,
I feel like
everyone else, or the evolution of the defense.
That one is going to take time because everybody got to get on the same page and it's new. But I think once by the time the first game come around, I think that's going to be the test. And we've seen the trend in many seasons where it takes the offense always a little bit of time to get going. That's not just for the Cleveland Browns. That's for all 32 teams. It take a while to get that thing clicking. And when you got new coaches coming in and new verbiage going in and new wordage and new players coming into the system, it's going to take some time. And it's hard to try to get all that chemistry going up against your same guys every day or in 2 series of a preseason game. Like it's going to take a while. So I think that offense can be spectacular, and I expect them to take the bigger jump than the defense does because I thought the defense played well or great last year. But I think that offense is the biggest difference maker, and I think they will make the difference. But it's going to take like week 4 or week 5 where we'll see them take completely off. Because you got to remember, the first 4 games, not official yet, but I still think it's official. You still don't have Nick Chubb for them first 4 weeks because I think he's going to start off on the PUP. Not that I know that's just my guess.
Just your guess. Jason, how much do you put into OTAs and whatever we see in terms of video content that comes out on Wednesdays for the next 3 weeks? Media will be able to be at these practices, so we'll get a little glimpse into a new offensive scheme. We'll get to see a little bit of, hopefully, Deshaun throwing the ball. We'll get to see a little bit of Nick Chubb and team activities. How much emphasis and how much credence do you put into what we get out of these early first couple of weeks of OTAs?
I don't know that anything that happens now impacts winning in September. I mean, Tyvis might have a better answer to that than me. I just think it's a good way to get guys back together, keep them around each other. I think it's more important for the offense than the defense because it looks like it's going to be a brand new install. So that ratchets up the importance of it. But it's 1% better, 1% better, and it sounds so silly and trivial, but I think there's a lot of merit to it. You're just trying to get 1% better today. You're not going to have all of everything installed, obviously, by the end of these OTAs, but it just starts to get guys familiar with each other. It really starts to get Kevin and Ken Dorsey familiar with each other in terms of on the field and interactions, and you start to learn about them. I said a couple months ago, maybe Kevin's telling the truth in the whole I don't know who's going to call the plays, because much like when he started with AVP, they had to get on the field together and see how they work and see how they interact. They haven't done that yet on the offensive side, so this is their first opportunity really to do that. So from that standpoint, I think that part's important. I don't know that what happens on the field necessarily translates into a guy making a play in September, October, November. It's just the start of the process.
I remember last year during OTAs, we got reports that Elijah Moore was coming out of the backfield as a receiver, being used in all these creative ways, and then once the actual season began, that was MIA in the ways they were using him.
He did it.
Kind of like spring training baseball versus.
No,
A little bit.
They did put him in the backfield like the first 3 weeks. It just didn't do
And
it.
it was a disaster.
Yeah, it
Well,
is.
that's my point.
Yeah.
We were led to believe that this was going to be some big part of the offense, and it had the capabilities to be a game changer. It never proceeded to turn into that. So I don't put too much emphasis on what we see, especially just from these little glimpses. Remind you, there are practices every day of the week. The media gets to go to a very design-specific, what's an hour and a half, however long to go there. Like, the Browns are well aware of exactly what they're putting on camera in front of people with cameras. It is all coordinated. But I am excited to see, how does Deshaun Watson's throwing motion look? We heard him talk when he was here for his end-of-season press conference, and when he was opening up lefties in Cleveland Heights, he said the shoulder feels great, he's on track, his throwing motion hasn't changed. Well, I believe him, but I want to see it with my own two eyes. I want to see if Nick Chubb is out there. Is he just able to run straight lines? Is he doing any type of agility cutting? We don't know just by seeing little glimpses through Mary Kay or from Hayden or from Jason or from Zach Jackson, from their little Twitter clips. Like, we don't really get a good look at how healthy a guy is, but it's at least something to put an eye test to match up with your own opinion you formulated at this point, to kind of get some sort of conclusion's not the right word, but see if it matches up to where you want it to be. So the two things I'm looking most forward to is, how do these injured guys look in their first real 2024 offseason activity? And two, what glimpses into the new offense are we actually going to get? The answer is probably little, but I am curious to see what it is.
Well, I mean, yes to those. I agree with you on those. Actually, the person that I want to see is the one receiver that they drafted in the 5th round, Jamari Thrash. I actually want to say, like, with Mike Hall and Zach Zenter, with no pads on, their brother-in-law.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I can't really tell you exactly what it's going to look like. So I'm not really, the trenches thing, I'm not worried about that at all. But I need to see some of these skill guys. I want to see if this receiver can be a guy, maybe, because you have some late round gems that people can find. I want to see if hopefully he could be that guy. He's going up against good competition every day because the Browns secondary is one of the best in the league. So if he can make plays against them, he can make plays against anybody. And that's really what OTAs is all about. It's really a big 7-on-7.
What are some of the drills that Jamari Thrash and the receivers will go through in OTAs that may give you a glimpse into whether or not he's a real player or not?
Well, I don't believe in one-on-ones. I think that one-on-ones is a terrible drill. Now, don't get me wrong. If the receiver is running a regular route, balls out in 4 seconds, then that's real. But at what point is the quarterback going to go hike, not worry about a pass rush, look at one person, not have to make no read, look at one person, wait till he open and throw the ball? That doesn't happen.
Doesn't exist
exactly.
in real football.
So I don't put a lot of stock in that. The best drill to see if that Jamari Thrash is good or not will be 7-on-7 and team periods. Any of those, because there is no blocking. There won't be a blocking drill because they don't have pads on. One-on-ones, I could care less about that. And other stuff is special teams. So it just would be 7-on-7 or team periods to where I can find out if he can consistently beat somebody and if the quarterback is finding him and can he make the catches.
Elijah Moore was the breakout star of last year's OTAs.
Yeah, he was.
Who do you think will be the breakout star of this year's OTAs?
Is that like a kiss of death, or is that a good thing?
It's a great question. I don't know the actual answer to that.
I think the media will report. I think the media will talk about how Jerry Jeudy runs good routes and all of those things.
Are we sure he's going to be here?
Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah.
He's not here?
I haven't kept up with who's here and who's not. I'm truly asking.
If Jerry Jeudy ain't here, then that's a terrible sign because you're in a new system.
Mary Kay should know him. She's going to be on in 3 or 4 minutes.
There's no
we'll
way
ask her.
that Jerry Jeudy.
I'm guessing we'll know tomorrow when the media's allowed to watch who's on the field and who's not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's not. I was genuinely asking.
I'm going to tell you the reports is going to be Jerry Jeudy looks good. Jameis Winston looks like he has great command of offense and guys love to be around him.
It's worth mentioning with Winston, by the way.
Greg Newsome is making plays on the ball, which is going to make it seem like they're going to potentially pay him.
To your Winston point real quick, Tyvis, Deshaun, limited throwing. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
DTR, May not throw it all during OTAs. You're going to see a lot of Jameis Winston and Tyler Huntley during this early OTA session for most of the summer until Deshaun's back to 100% health. But just be ready to see a ton of Jameis and a ton of Tyler Huntley, and Deshaun's revamp process to getting back to throwing 50, 70, 100 balls in practice, whatever that number is calculated, and it's already in plan and in detail. Like, it is not going to change. They have it already planned out. So if Deshaun only throws 10 passes one day, that is something that his coaches, his training staff, they have all come together to formulate that plan beforehand. So do not freak out. Expect Jameis, expect Tyler.
Yeah, and Jameis going to throw some dimes, and they're going to be like, well, maybe he could be the starter for the Cleveland Browns. You know, it's always something every year to spin the narrative. And I expect Jameis to go out there because I don't think he looks at it like, I want to be a backup for the rest of this time. That's not the case. I think he wants to actually apply pressure and show that, you know, I can lead this team. And he's got this perfect opportunity to show that he can lead the Cleveland Browns by having all OTAs. Although we all know
It's Deshaun's team.
It's Deshaun's team.
We know that. Mary Kay Cabot also knows that. And after a quick word from FanDuel, we're going to bring in our favorite Browns beat reporter.
Yeah, before we bring in our guest today, guys, it's winners take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you your shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and so much more. All you guys have to do is visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
And with that, we welcome in Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com, the Browns' longtime beat reporter. Mary Kay, it's been a while. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Mary Kay, do you get excited for the start of OTAs just like we do? It means real football is back in our lives.
We do?
Yeah.
Well, you're a black soul. You don't get excited for
What's
anything.
wrong
The
with
rest
you?
of us
It's
are happy to have real football back.
I do get excited for it. I've been writing about all of these new players the whole entire offseason. I haven't gotten a chance to see them yet. So it really is an opportunity to get out there to see what Jameis Winston looks like, to see what Jerry Jeudy looks like, to see what Deshaun looks like throwing the ball if we get a chance to see that tomorrow. All the rest of the new guys that have been brought in. So I do get excited for the start of OTAs.
You mentioned Jerry, and I asked Ty, like, generally, I didn't. Is he for sure going to be here at OTAs this week? Do we know, or do you have to wait till you get out on the field tomorrow and see who's there?
We have to wait until we get out there to see who's there, but I would imagine that Jerry Jeudy would show up for his very first set of OTAs with the Cleveland Browns. I can't imagine that he wouldn't be here. I don't think that would be a good look, even though they're not supposed to hold that against anybody. I would think he's raring to go, so I expect to see him.
Mary Kay, they definitely hold that against you. Just FYI, it definitely raises eyebrows when you don't show up to OTAs. Who has been your favorite? Acquisition? I should say from the Cleveland Browns this year. Who are you excited to see? Which one player are you excited to see?
Well, there are a lot of them, but I really am looking forward to seeing Jameis Winston out there, seeing what he brings to the table on the field and also off the field from a leadership standpoint, from a charisma standpoint. He's just a booming vocal leader, and I want to see the impact that he's going to be having on this offense. I want to see how he interacts with Deshaun and just how he is relating to the other quarterbacks. I think he's going to have an impact on this team this year in many, many ways, and I think we'll see the start of that tomorrow.
Mary Kay, you wrote, I think it was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago after rookie camp, about Ken Dorsey's fingerprints already being felt on the offense. Do you have any more clarity on how Ken Dorsey and Kevin Stefanski and the rest of the offensive coaches are coming together to collaborate on whatever the 2024 version of this offense is going to look like?
Well, I think Ken Dorsey really is putting his stamp on the offense, and I think that he's going to have a tremendous impact on what goes on offense this season, and he's bringing in a lot of what he learned under Brian Daboll in Buffalo. He's bringing in a lot of what Deshaun Watson ran under Bill O'Brien in Houston. So it's the kind of offense that Deshaun is very, very accustomed to, and I think that Ken Dorsey is going to be really, in some ways, driving the bus on the offense. I don't know if he's going to get play calling duties or not, but he's going to be installing and implementing a lot of the things that have gone really well in Buffalo and in New England and in Houston over the past how many ever years.
Mary Kay, if you made me predict who's going to call plays, my prediction would probably be Ken. But I've couched it a little bit and said, take Kevin at his word in terms of maybe he hasn't made up his mind yet, because he hasn't had any interactions yet really with Ken up until this point. This, to me, feels like the first opportunity to get those guys together on the field and working and feeling this out, sort of like the process he had to go through with AVP when he first arrived. Is there merit to that? Do you think Kevin knows in the back of his mind he's just waiting until close to the season to announce? Or do you think he really does need to get on the field with Ken, see how they work together, and see how it looks?
I think they're probably still in the fact-finding mission of this whole thing of who would be best served to call the plays for them this season. I think that he's probably more seriously considering turning it over to Ken Dorsey than he ever did to AVP, in large part because he was running his own offense for the first 4 years. Now they're going to be running a different offense that Ken Dorsey is probably more well-versed in. So there is some wisdom in turning it over to Ken. However, I've been saying this all along. I still think that Kevin is young in his play calling career. He's never had the chance to call a game for a full season for Deshaun Watson. And if I were him, I probably wouldn't give it up. He can call these plays that even though Ken Dorsey is putting the offense in, or at least putting his stamp on the offense, Kevin can still call those plays. And then you get to midseason and you say, hey, I think I'm ready to turn this over. Then you can do it like that. But I do think that he probably is giving way more serious consideration to turning it over than he did under AVP.
Mary Kay, how do you think this run game will look? Now that Bill Callahan is gone and Nick Chubb won't be out there, at least for OTAs, how do you expect this running back room to look, and how do you expect this new run game to look under Ken Dorsey / Kevin Stefanski / Andy Dickerson?
Well, they're going to have just a whole new philosophy, whole new energy and vibe in the running game. They have a run game coordinator. They have Deuce Staley coaching the running backs. Again, as you mentioned, and I've been writing for a long time, Nick Chubb is not going to be participating in these OTAs or the minicamp. They're waiting and letting him ramp up some in training camp. So it's going to have a different feel to it. I think you're going to see a lot more of Pierre Strong. I think that there's an opportunity for him to step up and really sort of plant his flag in this offense this year a little bit more. But for the most part, I think they're going to still run the football. I think they understand how important that is, especially in the AFC North and in this climate. And so I think it will still complement the offense, but you will see more 3 wides, more 4 wides, some spread, and some different things.
Mary Kay, we will get a first glimpse at Deshaun Watson post-shoulder surgery tomorrow. Do you have any insight on exactly what the Browns' plans to utilize Deshaun throughout this OTA period is as he continues to rehab and recover from that shoulder surgery?
Well, as I wrote again yesterday in an insider that I did covering a lot of these topics, I do think that he is on a pitch count right now, and he might be going every other day, or maybe he'll do off to the side one day, some 7-7s one day. Not exactly sure how they're mapping it all out, but he's not going to be full go from the jump. By the time we get to week 3, the one that we're out there for is, I think, June 5th. By the time we get to that week, he could be stepping up and taking those first team reps in 7-on-7s and team drills. I think they'll work towards that. And then same thing, kind of mini camp. And then he'll have that break that everybody has for 5 weeks or so. And then he'll be ready to go full go in training camp. But I still think that they will be judicious about it. I still think that they will let Jameis Winston take some of those first team reps to take the wear and tear off of Deshaun's shoulder. But he will be throwing to the extent that we will be able to see what that shoulder and what that arm looks like by the end of OTAs.
Is there any chance Nick Chubb's ready week 1? I think we all assume he'll just start on PUP, but I'm just wondering, is it too early to know, or do you think there's any chance he's ready for the opener?
I suppose there's a chance because we're talking about freak of nature Nick Chubb. But I don't really expect him to be ready for week 1 because when you think about it, it will only be a year since he suffered this horrendous injury in September. And you're talking about not just an ACL, you're talking about MCL, several other areas, and this is a twice reconstructed knee. So I don't think they should rush it. again, it's Nick Chubb. He might prove everybody wrong and get out there for week 1, but I am not expecting that to happen.
Mary Kay, the Browns have moved on from Anthony Walker, who was such a big voice on that defense. He was such a leader on that defense, and they replaced him with Jordan Hicks. How confident are you that Jordan Hicks can come in and be that leader, be that Mike linebacker that this team needs to be successful defensively?
Jordan Hicks brings some of those same leadership qualities that Anthony Walker had. Just in talking to him the one time that we did on the conference call, you could just tell he doesn't only bring experience, he brings a very nice vocal leadership. I think he's someone that the younger players are going to look up to and follow right away. It's natural. And I feel like that with a lot of the guys that they've brought in, there's something about them that transcends the game, that they are guys, some of them have real big personalities, some of them are a little bit more quiet, but they all have a love of a game. I mean, I'm talking about even guys that have been here before, like the Rodney McLeods of the world. They're just really good, solid guys that are willing to impart their wisdom on the younger guys, and I think Jordan is one of those, and I feel pretty good about the linebacker room, actually.
Mary Kay, I have a question, and I'm not trying to be cynical with this question. I'm genuinely curious what your opinion on this is. The Browns hired Chris Polian as a special advisor to Andrew Berry yesterday. He has an extensive resume. In the article you wrote on the hiring, I think it went 20 lines deep of his NFL front office experience and all that. Between Polian and Berry, and they have Mike Vrabel as a special advisor to Stefanski, and with all the minds in that brain trust, are you ever worried that there might be too many cooks in the kitchen, or is there all certain roles for each one of these guys to help the Browns reach their maximum potential?
I don't think there's too many cooks in the kitchen. I don't think you can have too many really brilliant people taking a look at the whole situation, getting another pair of eyes on things, and making sure that you are seeing it the way that it really is, or the way that you should be looking at it. And when you have somebody like a Chris Polian who has been around so long, who actually shares so many of the same philosophies of Andrew Berry, because they worked together. Andrew worked for Chris Polian in Indianapolis, just the same way he worked for Ryan Grigson there. And just as an example, one of the things Andrew took from Ryan Grigson was, do not cut costs on your offensive line. You must build tough through the lines. And that was a hard lesson that Ryan Grigson had to learn in Indianapolis. Andrew brought that here, and it has served him well. It will serve Deshaun Watson well. So I just don't think that it can hurt to bring in that kind of experience. I don't think there's too many cooks in the kitchen, because it really just funnels up to Andrew. Chris Polian is not going to be saying, no, we're going to do it my way. And Mike Vrabel is not going to be saying, no, Kevin, this is how we're going to do this. Those guys are there in a support role. They're sounding boards, and they fit the profile. I mean, they just all are speaking the same language. I think it will be helpful.
You know, Mary Kay, we spend a lot of time talking about the offense, and I feel bad that I neglected my side of the ball of expertise. So I want to ask you, what defensive player do you see making a huge leap in this upcoming season?
Well, one of the things to note about this defense is the fact that they are almost getting an influx of talent just by virtue of all of the guys coming back from injuries. You look at Grant Delpit coming back from a groin injury that cost him the last part of the season. Juan Thornhill was hampered all year by a calf injury. Obo is coming back off of a torn pec. So is Maurice Hurst. And the list kind of goes on and on. So I think just with all of these guys coming back, it's going to feel really, really new. But in terms of one guy that might take a big leap, I'm going to say Grant. Not that he's got a whole big, huge way to go, but I think if he can stay healthy this season, I think you're going to see more impact plays from him. I think he's ready to really sort of bust out, and he wasn't able to finish the season the way that he wanted to because of that groin injury. So if he can stay on the field and stay healthy, I think there's a chance for him to maybe have a Pro Bowl caliber season.
I want to make sure that we get all of the obligatory or OTA important questions. Who's going to call the plays, all the stand. Oh, here's another one. How long does it take to finalize a contract? because we heard at the end of March that they were just finalizing these extensions, and it's now May and still no announcement. Are they just waiting for the regular season at this point, or for training camp to roll these things out for Kevin and Andrew?
No, I think it'll still happen sooner than later. I think it's just a matter of they probably want to announce them together. So they just have to make sure that both of them are done, that the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, and there's been vacations and draft and all these kinds of things since Jimmy Haslam told us in March at the owners' meetings that they were close. So close is a relative term. It really hasn't been all that long since then. I think it will happen fairly soon.
The Browns, after drafting Mike Hall Jr. and Javon Briggs, now have 7 defensive tackles on the roster, Mary Kay. I think keeping 7's impossible. I think keeping 6 might even be tough. Who's the odd man out if this is if the Browns only decide to go with 5 defensive tackles? Do you have any insight or any idea who that might be?
That's a great question, because I know that they really like the guys that they have. They do have a surplus. And I don't know exactly how they're going to manage that unless someone is willing to maybe trade for one of those guys or something. Because right now, at the 3 technique alone, you're talking about Shelby Harris can do that. You've got Mo Hurst that can do that. You've got Quentin Jefferson. You've got Mike Hall. And that's just at the 3 technique, not the nose. And so there are a few more bodies there than they probably need. But I know they really, really like pretty much all of these guys. So we'll have to see how it all shakes out. Sometimes by the time you have to make those decisions, the issue has resolved itself through an injury or whatnot. So I really don't know. I don't think there's anybody they want to part with out of that group right now, but they will have to make some tough decisions.
When you look at this coaching staff, especially on the defensive side of the ball, the corners coach. He had a bunch of defensive coordinator opportunities. What made him turn them down and stay with the Cleveland Browns?
I don't know. Sometimes you get interviews, but you don't actually get the opportunity to take the job. You don't get hired. So I don't know exactly how all of those things worked out, but certainly the secondary is just a strength of this team. I think it will be so again. Brandon is an excellent coach. The guys really love playing for him. And he is, I'm talking about Brandon Lynch, he's somebody that probably won't be around for a bunch of years because he is going to be sought after as a defensive coordinator, as a head coach. But certainly the secondary is going to continue to be a strength of this team, and looking forward to seeing how some of the young guys even step up this year.
Mary Kay, let's have some fun here. 17-0 this year now that the schedule is out. Are you predicting a perfect season for the Browns, or what's a more realistic record for this team now that we know how Week 1's through Week 18 and their opponents lay out?
Do you do that stupid schedule game? Do you play that dumb
You have to. It's a right in the media. You got to play
so
it.
Dumb.
Will you stop with
it's
that?
so dumb.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I told you we ate that.
What if
Mary
you
Kay.
did it and you was right?
Huh?
What if you predicted it and then
Well, I usually am, but it's still
Oh,
dumb.
Jason, stop it.
Mary Kay, what say you?
I will tell you that when you do a podcast 5 days a week, the schedule game starts to look better and better to you. So you never know.
Thank you, Mary Kay.
I can't make any promises that we won't play the crazy schedule game. But I will say this about the schedule. The final 7 games are some of the toughest games that I've seen this Cleveland Browns team have to finish with since I've been covering them for 100 years. I mean, it is a hard finish to the schedule. It's got 4 AFC North games. It's got 4 primetime games. You've got the Kansas City Chiefs coming to town. They better hope that they are healthy for that final stretch, because it is absolutely grueling, and they're going to have to pad that win total as much as they can in the beginning of the season when they have a few easier games, because the NFL schedule makers did them no favors with the way they have to finish. And we already know they have the hardest schedule in the NFL this season, according to win totals from last year, and the 3rd toughest according to Vegas projected win total. So it's going to be tough no matter how you slice it.
Most importantly, Are you willing to trust me to plan Saturday night in Vegas for the Browns beat before the game against the Raiders?
Who are the other Mary Kay, who are the other options? If it's not Jason planning it, who else would?
I mean, I think it has to be me in Vegas. But if I did botch the reservation at the Combine a couple years ago, so I have to wear that one.
Well,
but I'm just wondering if the rest of the beat. I don't know if the rest of the beat will trust me to plan a Saturday night in Vegas without it ending in
You
handcuffs.
got this. You can have it. I will tell you, though, that I have been looking at rooms, and some of the hotels that I would like to stay at, the rooms are like $600
Oh,
a
wow.
night.
It's because Electric EDC. What's the music festival called? EDC.
I think it's EDC.
Yeah, it's a giant music festival in Vegas that same weekend.
Is it really?
Yeah, giant music festival in
Oh,
Vegas.
that's why.
Is that what it is? Because even
Yeah.
I went to the Super Bowl in Vegas, and the Super Bowl rooms were nowhere near as expensive as what I'm seeing for this Browns game. And so I already booked a place, but not in one of my fave spots.
Yeah.
So I got to keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
But you can have it, Jason. Go ahead.
I'll be the tour
I'm
guide.
ready.
I'll be the tour guide. I'll try and keep everyone out of jail.
Our resident show alcoholic, Anthony, just said a six-pack of Miller Lite at EDC is $90. So that's the kind of prices you're competing with when you go to Vegas. What's that, week 4?
You should be drinking water anyway.
So Mary Kay, thank you so much. Enjoy OTAs tomorrow. We can't wait to read what you see on the field from all our favorite Browns. Thanks so much for having some time to join us today on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, that was Mary Kay Cabot, the Hall of Famer, Mary Kay Cabot. And let's do a read and let's talk a little Cavs.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Resident alcoholic. Where did that come from?
You got it in my ear and said Miller Lite's
$60,
$90, you know.
Man, this is the last time I ever give Mikey a heads up on anything other than game time, actually. Because with 4 major concert venues in Cleveland and 3 major sports, there's always something to buy tickets for, guys. And you can save up to 60% off by buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. You can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. You can toggle all-in pricing so you guys don't get surprised by any fees at checkout. And then all you have to do to get all of this great stuff is to download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but you can create the account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. What y'all laughing at?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no. Business. What up, Steve?
Speaking of business, the Cleveland Cavaliers have some business to take care of this offseason, whether it's a coaching change, whether it's a roster change. We know changes are coming to the Cleveland organization. And Jason, we've talked the last few days about potential moves. You had talked about last week believing we had seen the core 4 together for the final time. The 2 pieces that seem most likely to be moved if the Cavs go on that decision are Jarrett Allen and Darius Garland. If those 2, for the sake of this conversation, the 2 we're focusing on, who has more trade value this summer, DG or JA?
I poked around a little bit last week after the Cavs were eliminated, and the answer I kept getting was JA.
Really?
Yeah.
I heard the same thing, by the way. The same thing.
I thought it'd be DG.
It surprised me a little. I had one guy say it's not even close. It's
Really?
JA, and I had another one say it's close.
I thought it
he
would
take.
I kind of felt it would be DG because with JA, you kind of know what you were getting. Like, he's reached his ceiling.
Well, he had a great year.
He did.
JA is coming off a great year. Darius is not. His contract is much more manageable than Darius's number going forward.
I think that's the biggest piece right there.
That is.
I poked around a little bit, too. I also heard JA. It wasn't close. I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
But think about centers. In today's basketball era, like, what Jarrett Allen brings to a team, he fits in with everybody. There is not a single – now, him and Rudy Gobert couldn't fit together, theoretically speaking, but Jarrett Allen fits with any other 4 players on the court outside of a non-shooting 5.
Which is what the Cavs have.
Just saying. Which is why – but there are teams around the league, and I'll use Oklahoma City for an example, just as an example.
Yeah.
I think they'd be willing to overpay for a player who fits the exact stereotype of what they need, which is a guy who doesn't need the ball on offense, who can play defense, and who can rebound, who would fit perfectly alongside a Chet Holmgren-esque player, where his value is significantly higher, or not significantly, but is marginally higher because of the lack of guys available at that position. For Darius to thrive, if you're going to trade for Darius, I think you have to make him your primary ball handler. I don't think he's going to go to a situation where he's splitting the backcourt duties and the ball handling duties with another ball-dominant guard.
Want. That's what
which
they
is what
want.
Sounds like Clutch wants.
Yeah.
And the amount of teams who have that open primary ball handler slot are few and far between. You're looking to trade for a top 10 center or a top 15-ish point guard.
But see,
and there's more good point guards in the league than there are centers.
My thing is off that Allen is all right. So in the NBA, there's essentially 4 dominant centers. You'd say 3 to 4 dominant centers.
Jokic,
Embiid.
You can count Giannis.
He's not a center.
Well, but he plays the
Do you
5.
count Cat as a center?
I think he's a 4, and I wouldn't count him dominant either. I mean, the next best center in basketball might be Wemby.
All right, so that's 3 people right there to where if you play them, they're getting 30 points no matter who. It doesn't matter.
But Wemby's in a different – if that's where you're going, Wemby's not in that category yet.
Like, so he's not going to stop the dominant center at any point. Like, they're going to score regardless. So what's the point of trading him to where DG – if DG gets back to being who he was, the all-star version of him, he can change games. I don't think Allen changes the game.
The question isn't at their peak who has the higher trade value. It's right now who has the higher trade value for the Cavs.
That's baloney.
And I'll tell you,
trade for him.
That's baloney.
We both talked to we talked to very different people.
I told you, Darius.
We both are the same thing.
Darius, is something happening with Darius this season. I'm telling y'all, something just wasn't right mentally with him.
I don't disagree.
Like, there's no way that this guy goes from everybody in the NBA saying this dude is next, like he's really that good, to what we seen for the remainder of the season. Like, I refuse to believe that's who he is. Like, I don't think that's him. So I feel like if he does get traded, whoever gets is really getting a steal, because I think he's going to go back to being the guy that he was, a good facilitator. He's going to put his weight back on, be able to finish at the basket, and he's going to hit them shots again. So I think that would be the more valuable guy. But if you're talking about just doing numbers and all of those things, then yeah, J.A. obviously is the favorable one because of the numbers and him coming off of a great year.
In the right situation, Jason, tell me if you disagree. Like, I think Darius could get back to being all-star level Darius.
100%.
Like, I think this was more of an anomaly.
I think if Darius
than the regular for Darius the rest of his career.
If Darius went somewhere like Orlando or the Spurs or maybe the Heat, like something like that, like I feel like he'd do well. I think he'd be a really good player. I think he'd go back to being the guy that he was.
He's making almost $37 million next year.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money to match in NBA contract trades, which the money always has to match in the NBA. That's going to complicate a deal. The Cavs, he's not coming off a great season, so that is going to suppress his value a little bit. The Cavs can say, we're not trading you.
Oh, that's what they should do.
Greg
Greg Popovich
that.
started that trend.
The Cavs could say, you're under contract to us for the next 3, 4 years, whatever it is, and you are a valuable piece.
What are you going to do,
do.
sit out?
We are not going to trade you. That can happen, and we'll just have to see how the rest of the summer plays out. But I don't think this is they're returning this in its current form of these 4 players and JB as the coach. There will be some change of some sort.
It has to be.
How deep the changes go, we're not going to know until July. But I do think that there will be some sort of change.
If the Cavs ran it back as is, that
Insanity.
right there, that's insanity. That is the definition of insanity.
I mean,
don't do it.
I'm just saying.
Don't do it.
Can you imagine if?
No, I can't.
Just imagine if Kobe walks out and says, "We're not addressing this crap," and the crap being what I'm part of.
Yep.
We're not addressing this. We've got a great young team. We'll see y'all next year.
With everyone, coach and everything.
And walks off.
It'd be a power move.
I would sit there.
It'd be a power move.
Power move.
You would have some disgruntled people.
It would be a power move to say, you think Pat Riley can't do that? Walk out and say, listen,
we
ain't talking about this. We've got a great young team. We've made progress every year. We'll see you in September.
There's no. First of all, you can't do that. Like,
you can though.
no,
it's not going to happen, but you can do it.
You can. It won't happen,
but you can. Yeah.
They will out. Somebody, I ain't gonna say me. Somebody will egg his car if he does that. I'm telling you right. They will TP his house and egg his car.
Over what piece?
Then there ain't gonna be no changes made.
The players or coaches, though?
Either. But really, it'd be the coach thing. The coach thing, they'd tear this city up. They'd tear this city. It's been too many times that I've gotten the chat or I've been on social media with the hashtag FireJB. They've been saying it for 2 years. There's no way that this man survived. There's no way. Now, player-wise, maybe they can fix something. They can work something out. But if what you say is true about the players didn't respond to him and, Donovan had issues and all of those things in the article, if that's true, then there's no way that you can do that. You can run back with him.
Tell the players, shut up, knock it off, and go back to work. I'm just saying.
Nobody ever said this about Popovich or Spoelstra.
Riley told LeBron, shut up and get back to work. I'm not firing Spo.
He tried to get Spo fired.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
LeBron tried to get
First year in Miami?
Man.
First year in Miami?
Oh, wow.
And Pat told him to
Riley
shut that.
told
You know
him,
what?
Go back out there on the court.
Yeah.
You let me worry about that.
Maybe they can.
You go play.
Kobe ain't got that much clout, though.
Well, that's
Kobe,
another.
Kobe's not Pat Riley.
Has Kobe ever been like a part of a championship?
Yeah, 2016.
Okay, outside of that, that's
No.
Yeah, he don't got that clout there.
I'm just saying it has been done. Where
The only way I'm gonna tell you right now, this is the only way.
And again, I don't think this is going to happen. I want to be clear on that. I don't think.
I just want you to know the only way that Kobe can pull a move like that and nobody absolutely TPs and eggs his car is if in the following 30 minutes they hear LeBron James have opted out and decided to come back to Cleveland. If that happens, they can run it all back and nobody will say a thing.
Well, you know what's funny along these terms is David Griffin tried that with David Blatt. Blatt's first year here because it was clear Blatt was in over his head. And there was so much noise that Griff called a press conference and basically said, this is not a vote of confidence. Do not write it that way. He doesn't need it. He absolutely needs it. and Griff tried his best to tap everything down and say knock off this shit and get back to work. And it worked, and then they fired him anyway. They fired him a year anyway with the team in first place.
Back to the initial question real quick of the Garland Allen. From poking around, did you get a sense of what the value might be for either one of those guys? I mean, I know it's a sliding scale, team dependent, but
yeah. I mean, no, I didn't really get that specific. I was just asking in generality which player is more appealing right now and which player would bring back more value, and the answer was J.A. Obviously they need wings, right? Obviously they need playmaking wings. Will a non-shooting big on a good contract? That's a good contract.
A great contract.
Yeah, and it's going to get better as it goes on. I think he's got, I don't even know how many years he's got left.
3 more.
So that's great value there. But does a non-shooting big bring you back a playmaking wing? I don't know. I guess we have to look deeper into the contracts and see what other pieces fit around it.
It's funny. I think Allen, once again, just for the sake of this conversation, if the Cavs trade Allen, I think it's for draft picks. If the Cavs end up trading Garland, I think it's for tangible assets more than it is for draft picks.
If they trade Garland, it better be. I would think that they would be trading it for size. They got to get the
You'd have to trade for a
6'7",
wing.
6'8",
You need a wing.
something like that. It got to be because you got small Donovan and you want to surround him with height, with taller players.
The issue is 6'7", 6'8" wings that can shoot and handle and create. Don't grow on trees, and when they do, they are very often not traded.
Those
or very
are
often
quarterbacks
traded.
in the NFL.
Paul George just signed him.
He's a guy that
he ain't coming.
Yeah, I don't think him. But there's a couple teams. New Orleans has a plethora of wings.
Gordon Hayward said he wants to show people that he's.
I think he's a free agent.
Gordon Hayward is 178 years old.
I know, but he said that he was upset that he got no playing time at OKC.
There's a reason why.
I know.
Has he played the same since he got hurt?
No. Not even close. He signed a big contract in Charlotte because they had free agency money they had to spend. But he hasn't been anywhere near the player.
You know what's the story I heard about Gordon Hayward? The Cavs had him on a visit in 2014, the summer of 2014.
I know.
When they were going to draft him?
He was a restricted free agent. They brought him here, schmoozed him, wined him and dined him.
And LeBron said, "I'm coming home."
Rich found out that Cavs were prepared to make him an offer, and Rich basically called the Cavs during the meeting and was like, "What are you doing? just be patient, please. Like, what are you guys doing? And the Cavs shook Gordon Hayward's hand, put him on the plane, sent him on his plane. No offer.
That's.
And a couple weeks later, LeBron came back.
That's crazy. Was playing with the trade machine this weekend on the flights.
Yeah.
Allen's contract fits in a lot more trades than Darius's does. Like,
True.
the $17 million difference.
Which is why I disagree with the draft pick thing. But go ahead. Continue.
Well, I just think the teams that need Allen. Now, there's a couple, except we don't have to dive super deep. Like, New Orleans is a team that I think could be interested in both, by the way.
Yeah.
Allen and Garland. They need a center, they need a point guard, and they have wings. Like, that's a natural trade partner.
Especially when you consider who's running both teams.
Yes. So, like there is a little more. I think San Antonio also the team.
Yeah.
That could fit for both.
Yeah.
Because I know San Antonio has said they want to put they don't want Wemby to play the 48 minutes a night for 82 games.
Right.
He's not physically ready. They need a traditional 5. They also need a point guard. I think that could be a team with both. Because of the money, Garland, you have to piece together a couple of contracts.
Yeah.
You could piece together a couple of mid-level contracts of guys who have already been paid, not necessarily on rookie deals, to get to 37. Easier it is to get the same return for Allen because then you're going over 20, if that makes sense. Actually, it's harder to get to Allen's number because 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 20.
Yeah.
In today's NBA, 2 and 2 equals 30, 31 more often than 20.
Right.
But the list of teams that need a traditional center and a true point guard, it's not a ton. And then if Cleveland is going to trade Darius, for example, Orlando's a perfect fit. I can't see him trading him to Orlando.
No.
I can't see
then that's right in the Eastern.
That's what I'm saying.
Although they
Like,
traded Kyrie to Boston, so they've done it before.
that's actually, I didn't think of that's a good point.
But and I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on this. I'll probably write about this in a few weeks. But the league is constantly changing, and it's about to change again. And some of the people I've been talking to, nobody knows yet what this is going to look like on the other side. But this new collective bargaining agreement is very punitive to teams that are trying to. You can't really build super teams right now with the way that the CBA is structured. And
Second apron of luxury taxes.
yeah,
So you told me about it.
and rookie contracts have always been valuable in the NBA, but they're even more valuable now. And this could be the first iteration of what this really is going to look like going forward. I think it's going to complicate trades. And honestly, I'm still like trying to get all the information and dig around on this.
It's deep. It's a
Get
lot.
more. But from teams that I've talked to, like, it's going to be harder to make these types of trades that we're talking about going forward, just because of the cap implications and because of the new CBA. So it's going to be interesting to see.
And there's some draft picks you can't trade. You have to wait longer. Like seeing a return that the Nets got for Kevin Durant or that Utah got for Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
Like putting those all into one now is going to be even more difficult
Right.
because teams don't want to pay that second apron of luxury tax.
Yep.
If you're in the second apron, you can't get a buyout guy. There's certain other things you can't finagle. But I think both have value. And I think when you look big picture, I think Twitter and I think a lot of even some people on our show have made it seem like Darius Garland's trade value is way lower than it actually is. I still think he has legitimate value on the open market. I just think Jarrett Allen's a little higher.
So do you keep him, Garland? If say that Jason's article is true.
Yep.
And
What do you mean say that it's true? Of course it's true.
okay.
Yeah, that's kind of disrespectful. That's honestly the most disrespectful he's ever said.
I'm just messing with him. You have to couch it that way and phrase it that way.
Okay, Jason's article is true, and Darius wants to be traded.
Well, hang on. Before you get me, before you get me aggregated, if Donovan resigns, there's the potential for that to happen.
Okay, say that happens. Okay.
No, you say it so when it gets aggregated properly.
This is what I be talking about, man. No, just sit back and let me just set the table. Let me set the table. Don't interrupt.
All right, go ahead.
Say that Donovan comes back and Darius decides he wants to be traded because he don't want to do this sharing of the ball stuff. Do you think it's the Cavs' best interest to say, go sit down and we keep you under contract, you got to play here? You think that's the best thing, or do you think they should try, if his value is so low and they won't get what they should get, should they still even trade him?
I don't think they should. I think they should.
You just keep the two.
Yeah, You try and work it out because
Is that regardless of the return, or is that if his value's so low in Tyvus?
I mean, you always have to look at the return, right? You always have to look and see what's out there. But
Yeah, like say the return ain't to you. When you
your
look at it, you
standard.
like that's not going to help us.
because we've seen it work with Darius and Donovan. It worked last year.
Right.
It worked, we weren't having this
Yeah.
conversation last year, so it can work. I think
yes,
it's.
we were.
I think it's more. I actually think it's more imperative to break up the front court than it is the back court. I think it's more
I agree.
imperative to move on from probably
Allen.
Jarrett, given everything that's come out over the last week.
Yeah.
Keep Evan, build around Evan, and if you have to pick front court, back court, I would break up the front court and do my best to try and keep the back court intact.
So forget the core four. Keep a big three.
Keep a big three, especially if you get Donovan back.
I agree with Jason that the front court issue is more of an issue than the back court problems. I would still explore a trade. Like, you always have to be looking at
Yeah, I'm not saying don't
and
do
if
that.
if
but
you could get the thing is when you trade a player of Darius's caliber, an all-star player on that contract, 9 out of 10 times you're getting 75 to 85 cents in return. Now, that's 75 to 85 cents of whatever you believe Darius is, but it rarely is the instance where you get equal value for the player.
Trey
you're sending out.
Murphy. for
Oh,
Darius.
done, gone, done.
Straight one for one. Well,
New Orleans would never do
if
that.
the
The
numbers
money-
matched up
money's
1
not
for
even
1,
close.
you would do that.
I would not. Trey Murphy's my number one guy.
Okay, I'm
I
just
want this
asking.
offseason. Like,
I'm
yes.
just asking.
But New Orleans wouldn't do that, and the money doesn't work. So that's not a realistic, or not a plausible situation. It's realistic that those two be involved. I would explore if you can get wings. I think you need wings. I think the biggest issue with this roster this year was the fact that they had a 6'4" Max Strus playing the 3, and at times a 6'5" Isaac Okoro playing the proverbial stretch 4 in the playoffs.
He was 6'7"
And they are
this
just
whole time.
no, he's not, and he's 6'5" with an afro. So take that as what it really is. He's probably 6'4", and Max Strus is probably not 6. Whatever. They're the smallest wings in the entire league. You need size, you need creativity from the wings. It helps when you have one center to break it up. But if you trade Jarrett Allen, I'm still not sure Evan Mobley's ready to be a full-time center, 82 games,
I don't think
and in
he
the playoffs.
wants to be.
Like, you still need to find some sort of other big to replicate some of the minutes when Evan's off the court. I don't think Donovan's a point guard for 82 games of the season. Like, I still think he needs to share the backcourt creation
With who?
load. That's not the right word, load, but like, I don't think he's a full-time 82-game point guard.
I
I think he'd fill in, but I still think if you trade Garland, if you trade Allen, you're creating other holes that you still need to address. It's not just as simple as, oh, slide Donovan there, slide Evan there, and all the problems are solved.
How tall is Karis LeVert?
6'5", 6'6".
I think it was very interesting during the playoffs that when it was Karis and Donovan or Karis and DG, that the offense looked better. Like, they just flowed better. And that's when I said to myself, that's the first time I was like, that small guard thing really don't work. Like, because his size makes it a lot better. So that's when I was like, that was the only time in the past 2 years since Donovan been here that I was like, maybe they do need to move on from the small guard thing.
We also saw in the playoffs, and it was the third quarter of Game 2, when the game they won. It was Game 2, right? Yeah, Game 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was exactly why you paired Donovan and Darius. You had two guys with elite creation skills, forcing the defense into absolute hell trying to rotate and recover. The issue is we only saw that in the playoffs in one quarter. And Darius had 11 points that quarter. He had 14 for the game. The other 3 quarters of that game, he wasn't the Darius that you needed him to be. But in that one quarter, that was the perfect microcosm of the best version of that backcourt.
I need to talk to him. Darius, what happened, bro? What
It was a season
happened?
from hell. He's better than that.
He's way better than that.
think we all
but
agree
I just
he's
like,
better than that.
what happened? Like, to the point where you don't even really want to shoot the ball. Like, what happened? What happened? Like, who took his confidence away?
I don't know. This is a bad year. And to the earlier point you were making about 85 cents on the dollar, it's been a long-standing thing in the league is 4 quarters don't equal $1 in the NBA. The NBA is driven on stars. If you trade a star and you get back 4 really good role players, you're not as good as you were with 1 star. So 4 quarters does not equal $1 in the NBA. It hasn't for 30, 40 years. But I'm wondering now, and I actually asked somebody this last week, does 4 quarters equal $1 now with the new CBA? And the answer was nobody knows yet. We just don't know. We don't know the answer.
Did the new CBA happen already, or is it going to happen?
No, it's in effect now with the second apron and everything, but we
Okay.
just haven't seen trades yet under it like we're about to.
So
Like
this
we're
would be the
at- we're-
first. This would be the first
We're
year.
just sort of entering now into what this is
Okay.
going to look like.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot of teams that don't really know yet.
It's a giant unknown. Speaking of unknowns, we know the 4 teams in the conference finals. We don't know the 2 teams in the NBA finals. Celtics, Pacers, Timberwolves, Mavericks. Tyvis, how you feel about the Western Conference finals? Minnesota,
I think
Dallas.
that's must see TV because I could see it going either way. I think the T Wolves just got something to them, but Kyrie is a killer too. The way the T Wolves is playing right now, it's hard to bet against them. Like for the whole thing, I add on top of that, Mike Conley's a former Buckeye that hasn't won a championship. So, by Ohio State biases, I really kind of want to see the T Wolves win. I think it'll be probably them versus the Celtics in the finals. But I don't never really want to count Kyrie out either. I know that's my second favorite player in the NBA. I don't really want to count him out either. But if I had to pick today, gun to my head, I'm taking the T-Wolves to win it all.
I picked Denver to beat Minnesota. Whoops.
I did too.
Won't make that mistake again. I'll take Minnesota over Dallas, although the Luka-Kyrie pairing could be fun to see. I'm curious to watch this. I haven't seen a ton of the Mavericks yet.
Mm-hmm.
I will watch this series. I'm just curious to see how Kyrie looks now compared to how he looked a few years ago when he was here.
He's been awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome this
Yeah,
playoffs.
I've seen some of the highlights in that, but like I haven't sat down and really watched a lot of Mavericks games beginning to end. So I'll take the Timberwolves and the Celtics. I've been on the Celtics all year. I was thoroughly unimpressed with them, though, in that series. I don't know if they were just – they knew they had it in the bag, but that did not look like the best version of Boston that the Cavs saw. And if they're going to win a championship, they got to play a lot better than they did against Cleveland.
It is a yin and yang conference finals. In the East, number 1 and number 2 offenses in the regular season. Boston 1, Indiana 2.
Mm-hmm.
In the West, you have 2 of the top 4 defenses in basketball. Minnesota 1, Dallas at 4. What I saw defensively from Minnesota in Game 7, especially that second half against Denver, that was maybe the best half of defensive basketball I've ever seen in my entire life. Did you watch the end of Game 7?
Yeah.
The way they rotated, the way they locked up, the way they put Ant on Jamal Murray and pressured him 94 feet. We saw them do it in Game 2 as well, but that was Game 2. Game 7, with everything on the line, down 20 to claw their way back in. And Anthony Edwards shot like crap. He was 6 of 24 from the floor. He impacted the game in a bunch of different ways,
Yeah.
but
Didn't
like
shoot it well.
I love Luka. I think Kyrie's incredible. PJ Washington's been awesome for them. Jason Kidd has that team playing really, really, really well right now. I don't know how you pick against Minnesota. On the other side, Boston's going to win the series. I don't know if you guys saw the odds. It's the most lopsided odds to win a conference finals they've ever seen. I think it's minus 1,100 for the Celtics, plus like 800 for the Pacers. I don't think Indiana can beat them. Indiana can make that way closer than I think people are giving them credit for. They play wonky. They shoot like crazy, and they're going to have 1 or 2 games in the series like they had in Game 7, where they're going to shoot 60% from 3. And if they shoot like that, they're going to win the game. It's just a matter of can they catch Boston on an off night, and will Boston play down to the level of competition like we saw versus Cleveland?
Yeah.
And I think Indiana has the amount of healthy horses capable to make Boston pay.
The interesting thing about that Celtics thing, if it does end up being T-Wolves and Celtics, the Kristaps Porzingis thing,
huge.
If he plays, that gives them a big advantage because now you pulling Gobert out the paint, which he's uncomfortable with anyways. I don't know if he's gonna play though. That calf strain.
He said he might play this series.
Man, yeah, okay.
He's been out 2.5 weeks now.
I don't care.
I think he'll be back for the finals if they make it to the finals.
Game 7.
No, I think he'd be back. I don't know nothing. He was out on the court moving around very gingerly during the end of that Cavs-Celtics series, and you could tell by just watching his movements he's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
But I think by the start of the finals, I would think he'll be close to back.
We'll see
if they get that far.
Who's the best player in the Minnesota-Dallas series?
Who the best player?
Yeah, who's the best player?
Kyrie Irving.
Wrong.
I'd take Luka.
I lean towards Luka by the slightest of margins over Ant Edwards.
It's Kyrie Irving.
But Ant Edwards, and I think we had a discussion after the first round where he destroyed Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll take Luka, but Ant's coming. Like, he's right there.
I'm going to find out about Ant because Ant said he checking Kyrie.
It is. He likes playing defense. Like, he's one of the real two. I mean, he's still
Jaden
young.
McDaniels is the real
Yeah, but Jaden has more size. They'll probably put Jaden on
Luka.
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah, so that means Ant
He said he
has
checking. Ant said he checking case. So I'm gonna find.
But what do
out.
you do with Conley then? Because the rest of Dallas's starting lineup's big. Derek Jones Jr., Derek Lively.
I don't know what Conley going
He
to do.
did Washington
I don't know what.
it's a weird match. Now Conley, they said the stat in Game 7. Conley held opponents to the lowest field goal percentage of any guard, like opposing shooting percentage of any guard in basketball this year.
You said who did that?
Conley.
Go Bucks.
Opposing guard shot 37% from the
That
floor.
doesn't surprise me, you know.
But he's not like
It's what we do at
he's in
State.
year 17. Like he should not be that level of defensive stopper in year 17.
When you at State, it's forever. Like you
Greg
always,
Oden
you always
lasted
great.
forever.
Hey. Hey, you watch your mouth.
I'm just saying, like
You
it makes no sense that at this stage of his career he should be that good
You
defensively.
know how old I am? I'm so old. I covered that Ohio State team. Oden and Conley.
2007?
Was it 6? I thought it was 6 when Troy won the Heisman.
Was it that? No.
Yeah.
Was it that same year? Troy won the Heisman,
Troy won
played
the Heisman.
Florida, lost, and then the basketball team played.
I guess it would have been 06-07. Yeah, because Troy won the Heisman. I'm
Okay,
almost
that's
positive.
why it's 06, 07.
Yeah,
That's
so
why.
Troy won it. I covered Troy winning the Heisman, and then that team making a. And I said then, I thought Conley was the best player on that team, and people's like, no, it's Oden. Oden's carrying that team. Like, man, I don't know. And of course, his dad obviously was an Olympic athlete, so the genes are there. And that's how does a guy survive 17 years in the league?
17.
That's
how
how.
old is he? What's
Well,
LeBron on?
He was Mike was one and done, so he would have been 19 in 07. So he's 30. He's about 36.
And
36,
LeBron on year 20?
21.
It was 21 for
He
LeBron.
just finished year 21.
I wonder
Yeah.
if Mike gonna make it to 20. He's so close. He might as
But
well.
he played awesome.
That's what I said. He may as
You
well.
want to hear a crazy stat? So last season,
I don't know how much money that man's made in his life.
Last season, the worst five-man lineup in basketball that played at least 150 minutes together. Gobert, Cat, McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, and D'Angelo Russell.
They moved D'Angelo
That was
Russell.
the worst, the number one worst five-man lineup in basketball last season that played 150 minutes
Everybody
together.
but Mike Conley.
You switch Mike Conley and D'Angelo Russell?
They the best.
They're in the East. They're in the Western Conference Finals right now. Does that mean D'Angelo Russell's the worst player in basketball? Go Bucks!
Hey, listen, bro. Listen. You gonna cut this out?
You see what I did? You see what I
That
did?
the sick thing
That was
is,
good. What?
is that D'Angelo Russell arguably is one of the best basketball players, like from a talent standpoint, to come out of Ohio State. That's crazy.
He was the second overall pick.
Yeah, he was.
Guess how much money Mike Conley's made in his career?
I'm gonna way more than that. 420.
420. You were close the first time.
One,
Well, I don't know if you were closer or not.
220.
250.
Oh boy!
252 million. That's just a quick. I don't know if that's accurate or not. It looks like.
Was his biggest deal in Memphis?
Yeah,
he
was
was the highest paid player in basketball at one point in his career.
Yes.
In
that's
Memphis, right?
facts.
Yeah, he signed as 176 million, I think.
Yeah, he made. Actually, Utah paid him, but he was making 34 million a year in Utah off his Memphis deal. He made 30 million in 1 year in Memphis, 28 million.
Yeah,
So he's good.
He's good. He is good. He doesn't have to do a podcast.
and he's a. That was good. That was good. That was well played. He's also the ultimate glue guy. Like he does all the little things that help the team
Well,
win
he won the
basketball games.
Teammate of the Year award or whatever that is.
He deserves. He's like I said, best lineup in basketball or worst lineup in basketball last year to top 5 lineup in basketball this year. You just watch D'Angelo Russell and Mike Conley, and look what happens. And we got some super chats.
We have some super chats. Do you want to talk about this ESPN Cleveland tweet real quick first, Mike?
Yeah, if you want to pull it up real quick, Wendy was on ESPN radio in Cleveland earlier, and this is from a real Cavs fan who summarized what Wendy said, but the tweet reads, the Cavs had some meetings yesterday, have more today. Things cooled off, and the future of the organization are being discussed. JB and Kobe are in those meetings. He expects a decision imminently.
Kobe is in LA for draft stuff. So read into that whatever you will in terms of timing announcements, why they haven't really done anything this week. I know there's a lot of speculation about why haven't the Cavs talked, why hasn't Kobe done his end of season presser. I believe he went straight from Boston to LA. to do.
He was in Chicago for the combine.
He was in Chicago for the combine, and then he went to Boston for Game 5, and then he
LA.
went right. Whether or not he went back to Chicago, I don't know.
You say he's in L.A.?
He's in L.A. right now for
You
draft.
know who else is in L.A.?
Who?
LeBron James.
LeBron.
LeBron James.
There's a lot of people in L.A. right now. There's a lot of people in L.A.
Please.
So whether or not that, that easily explains why they haven't done any sort of availability because he's not even here yet.
Imminent was an interesting word choice from Wendy. Who knows?
We'll see.
Who knows? All right, you want some super chats?
Yeah, and just so you guys know, if anything does happen this afternoon, Mike and Jason are going to jump on Ultimate Cavs. But our
Yes.
first fan super chat today, Tyvis, it comes from Mud. He says, I'd like to apologize for saying you're in media. Clearly, you do it out of pure kindness. It should count as a charitable contribution on your taxes.
Yeah, why are you cashing them checks if you ain't in the media?
This is all volunteer work.
First of all,
This is Tyvis's community service.
Helping the needy.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, this all of this money. Every time you see me on camera or listen to me on the radio, just know that all of that money is going towards 2 young girls' college funds. So technically, yes, I am doing it for charity.
I don't know if that
It's
counts as a
called
write-off, though.
my daughter's charity. That's what it is. So
I don't think that's a 501c3.
you can get that. Yeah, you can get.
I don't know if you can get a tax write-off.
You can't
for
get a
that.
tax write-off for it, but
Good luck with
there's
that.
ways around certain things.
Good luck with that.
All right, Ant, what's
All right.
next?
So the next one I have here is from Daryl. You guys were fired today. UCSS is the best sports show in the land. Ant the Man, McNuggets, Jason Lloyd, and Tyvis. Love you guys. Love you too, Daryl. And then, guys, we have some...
Shout out to Daryl, by the way. He's
Man,
in here all
legend.
the time. Daryl, Dewan, our guys, our security guard in the Muni lot.
we haven't seen. It's been a while since I seen Daryl.
Our
Last time
office
I
would not
seen
work
him,
without
he
Dewan,
was
so...
working on something, voice-wise.
Voiceovers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we got a little bit of breaking news.
Yeah, we got some breaking news. Mike had a hint about it from eye emoji tweets. The Browns are signing wide receiver Matt Landers.
Guys, this is huge. This is huge.
That's not cool.
Matt Landers. Tyvis, break it down. This guy was a monster in high school. Tell us everything you know right now.
The way they do that to us.
Is this for real? You serious?
Let's give him the people
I
need.
don't even know who he is. I've never
I
heard
think he
of
played
the
on the
guy.
Seahawks from the picture I saw.
Let's look up who Matt Landers is.
Who is this guy?
Matt Landers.
He gonna turn around and be the best player we ever see.
He's an OTA and camp body.
He played
That's who he
football
is.
at Georgia from 2017 to 2020. Played at Toledo in 2021. Played at Arkansas in 2022, Tyvis. He was on the Seahawks and the Panthers practice squad. He's been in the UFL. He played for the Renegades and the San Antonio Brahmas this season. 6'5", 222 pounds. 4'3", 40. G. Bush is going to say this dude's the next Austin Watkins.
Oh, my goodness.
10'10" broad jump. That's actually pretty crazy for
That's
someone who's 6'5".
wild.
That's actually a crazy athlete, if we're being totally honest.
He is a red zone threat.
That's
6'5" and jump out the gym.
38-inch vert, 10'10" broad jump.
I was right. He was in a Seahawks uniform.
That's actually a crazy.
He's one of those guys that if they can figure out how to get him right, he could be a weapon. But if not, he'll be a camp body, OTA body, camp body, and a practice squad guy. Because they do have some guys that they got to think about moving on from, like Michael Woods and.
Earl loves Michael Woods. You think Michael Woods has a chance to make this roster?
They used to love Michael. He just have a bunch of injuries, but they say when healthy, wasn't he undrafted?
I think he's a seventh round
Yeah,
pick.
he was late.
Okay,
He was seventh
they
round.
love Michael was like 2-3 years ago.
He had a great
and he
college
ended up. I think he ended up making a roster, but he was hurt. He like messed up his hamstring or something. I haven't really seen him. I tell you what, one of these days, if I can go to OTAs or one of them days, I'm gonna find out.
Well, get yourself a media credential and you can.
No, I'm gonna go as a former athlete.
I
As
think you need
a former
media
and as
credential.
a former and current Browns employee.
But then if he comes on our show and tells us what he saw, he's back to media.
Yes. He's media.
Then I'll keep it to myself.
You can't keep nothing to yourself. What are you talking about?
I can keep everything to myself, actually.
So we're going to be monitoring any news on JB Bickerstaff's future and any decisions the Cavs come to today, tomorrow, whenever that happens. We'll break in live. Browns OTA start today. Do you think we'll get any videos out of practice today, Tyvis? Do they shoot those without media as well? Like, will the Browns put out a few videos?
Yeah, but
What does the first day of OTAs look like?
It's more like warming up. No, you go through practice.
So they go through a real practice or padless practice.
Yeah, well, there's no pads and no TAs at all. Yeah, you go through individual, special teams, individual, first team period, 7-on-7 team period.
Every day?
Yeah, it's about the same thing every day. They might sprinkle one-on-ones in there, which is.
So we'll have that free tomorrow. And what's in overtime?
We're going to talk about what we would buy with our first NBA check if we were drafted first overall like Wemby.
I know Jason.
Trip to Vegas.
No.